Chapter 13. Although it was a bit chilly, it was still a lovely Saturday night. Everyone was out, couples held hands, children laughed with their parents, music flowed through the air, and I found happiness in the nightlife around me. I took my time in walking down the busy streets, occasionally stopping to admire the designer brand clothes on display, and remembering memories as I passed places which each had their own story to tell. Something I hadn't noted was that the entire time, I had a blissful smile on my face as I played with the heart-shaped diamond hanging on my necklace. I pressed the button to cross the road, and as I waited patiently, I noticed something glisten in the corner of my eye. I looked to my right and saw an object behind the display glass of a costume shop. Forgetting all about the traffic lights that have turned green and the cars waiting for me to cross, I walked towards the closed shop and brushed my fingertips against the glass. Masquerade masks, exactly like the ones Reese and the others wore the night they broke into the school. Chloe. I jumped a little when my name was called. I was just too much in thought. I turned around and couldn't help but have a massive smile plastered on my face as I saw Jake and Jaden waving at me. "Hey! How are you guys?" "Good," they both replied in sync. "Okay, is this like a twin thing? Do you two always talk in sync?" I laughed. "Not always," they replied together. I just gave them a blank stare. "So, what are you doing here?" Jaden asked me. Although the twins look extremely alike, well, of course they do, they're twins, I could tell the difference between them. Jake has a scar right above his eyebrow, definitely a best feature. Walking home, seeing as my ride has a date. I muttered sadly, I felt way too much like a loner. "Well, maybe because I am. Wanna hang out with us?" I looked up at them in surprise. Both guys were looking at me with their eyebrows raised, obviously waiting for an answer. "Oh, I couldn't," I replied with a sheepish smile. As much as I was dying to socially interact with Homo sapiens, I couldn't just intrude. "Oh, come on," Jake nudged me and wiggled his eyebrows, "you know you want to." "True. We're just gonna chill at Cyrus." As you can see, Jaden held up 2 takeaway plastic bags filled with calorie-packed burgers, making my mouth water. "We've got dinner for the boys. They're probably impatient by now, but whatever, they can wait," he shrugged. "So, what do you say?" Jake casually slung his arm around my neck. "Of course," she says. "Yes bro, she wants to join the dark side," he said in a dramatically dark voice. I laughed. "The dark side? How can I refuse?" I asked theatrically. As the 3 of us walked further down the road, I couldn't help but be interested in the twins' conversations. They were so different. Basically, Jake's the wild, dirty-minded one and Jaden's the calm, sensible one. "What's Cyrus?" I finally asked. "It's where we hang, chill, head off to when we wag classes and train." "Train?" "Well, not us, Reese does." I was still perplexed. "I'm not following you." Jaden's eyebrows furrowed in confusion. "Reese never told you." "Tell me what?" I snapped. "As you can see, I'm not a very patient child." "Whoa, chill," Jake commented. "Reese is a fighter." I abruptly stopped walking. "What?" "Yeah, he started out in late-night street fights, then a guy who was fully loaded money-wise," Jaden interjected. Asked him to fight in a couple championships at first, it was all just fun and games, but then he won every single round. Reese has never lost a match in his entire life, he's like invincible. Jaden finished with a laugh, but you could tell the admiration in his voice. Jake nodded in agreement. There's a lot of blood spilled in the boxing ring, none of it is Reese's. There's a grand finale boxing tournament coming up in a couple of weeks. If he wins some big cash. He's been training non-stop for it. By now we were at the stadium's entrance. I ran my fingers through my hair. Reese. A fighter? I just couldn't get my head around to it. The twins mentioned that there was a lot of money involved, but it just didn't make any sense to me. Why would Reese need money? Being a student at Prescott Private meant that your parents must be fully loaded, like Jaden quoted. Why would Reese fight for money? Suddenly my feet left the ground and I found myself being crushed into a massive bear hug. I hadn't even noticed we'd already entered Cyrus. I let out a cry of surprise. Little C. I haven't seen you for ages. I've missed you. I've missed you too, Valentino. Please let me go, I can't breathe. I managed to make out while he squeezed me tighter and spun me around. He let out a chuckle and I felt his chest vibrate before he gently put my feet back on the floor where they belonged. What is she doing here? I turned around and noticed Dennis standing there looking annoyed. My heart sunk a little in my chest. I mean, I know it's not possible for everyone to like you, but I've never actually had an encounter with someone that didn't. Great to see you too, Dennis. I smiled brightly. His cheeks turned the slightest bit pink and I smirked in satisfaction. Sorry Chloe, I didn't mean it like that. Dude, Valentino interrupted, what took you two so long? Can't you see I'm starving? Whatever Val, calm your tits mate. Here, Jake shucked a burger at Valentino's face, which he caught single-handedly with ease. Hopefully this will shut you up for a few minutes. I felt a tap on my shoulder. Have you had dinner yet? Jaden asked me. Yes. I lied. Oh, okay, just come sit with us then. Suddenly, the doors opened so loud the sound echoed through the room. I looked to the left so fast I thanked the Lord my neck didn't snap. I felt my eyes widen in shock. This whole time, it hadn't occurred to me that if Cyrus were the place where Reese trains, he would no doubt be here tonight. Have I ever mentioned how breathtaking he looks when he's half naked and sweaty from training? I unwillingly tore my eyes away in hope no one had noticed me checking him out. What is she doing here? Oh. Okay. Way to make me feel wanted, Reese. Jerk. I can totally feel the love tonight. I muttered. Beside me, Dennis laughed and I did my best to control myself from punching him in the face. Instead, I gave him my best death glare. He stopped immediately and gave me an apologizing look. I just narrowed my eyes. I was just hanging out with the coolest kids on the block, Jake finished. We saw her walking home alone, so we invited her here. That's not a problem, right, Reese? Reese's green eyes burned into mine. I didn't even have the guts to breathe. Whatever, he shrugged before turning around and walking off. Yo. Aren't you gonna eat? Valentino called out with his mouth full. Not hungry, he simply replied before letting the door shut behind him. I just sat there, confused as hell. What just happened? What had I done? Did he dislike me that much he couldn't even bear to sit with his friends and have dinner while I was there? He was fine a few hours ago when he put on my necklace. Oh. I gestured my thumb towards the door. Do you guys mind if I didn't bother finishing when I saw all of them shake their heads and tell me it's okay. I opened the door, walked in quietly, and took in the sight. There was a boxing ring in the middle of the area, then there were weights and other gym appliances. There was also a huge, black boxing bag where Reese was currently beating the shit out of it. Mind my French. His back was turned to me, his bare back, that is. His strong muscles were always tensed. His arms kept hitting the bag with so much force, it kept swinging. Those things looked so heavy though. Val, get out. The anger in his voice took me off guard. He still hadn't looked back, but he knew someone was in the room. He just didn't know it was me. Val, I'm serious, I can't be bothered with you or that little French nerd. My mouth was hanging open, but I refused to make a sound. I could really hit him right now. She's just so annoying and immature and clumsy, he continued while I thought of ways to kill him. Sometimes I catch her looking at me out her window, totally creepy. Did I mention she snuck into my room? Ouch. He turned around when I smacked his uncovered back, and for the first time I noticed his smirk. Bonjour, jerk. Hola, nerd. Honestly, I just wanted to wipe that sexy, irresistible smirk off his face by high-fiving him in the face with a brick. You knew I was behind you, didn't you? I suddenly realized. No shit. Who else's heels would make such an irritating sound when they walk? I stared at him with my jaw almost hitting the floor, then I mentally shook my head. Rude. Reese rolled his eyes. PFFT, Rude is my middle name. Really? I thought it was jerk. That too. He went back to punching the bag, with much less force than before. My eyes instinctively traveled down his dark, wet hair and his sharp jawline to his broad chest and across his abs. Stop checking me out. I'm not. I replied instantly and felt warmth spread across my cheeks before I looked away and focused on a garbage bin. You're cute when you blush, Chloe. Reese commented, looking extremely amused. My heart, on the other hand, was beating way too fast for my liking. Don't say stuff like that. I finally choked out. Oh? Why not? He teased. Just don't. Oh, I see, your boyfriend might not like it. What boyfriend? He turned around to face me again. Was your date that bad? What is this boy on about? What date? OHHH. That date. Were you lying about you having a date, Chloe? He asked as if I had done something very bad. I didn't lie about anything, Reese. You said you had a date. No. I said, maybe. I defended. So you didn't go on a date? Nope. And you don't have a boyfriend? My heart started thumping loudly again. Nope. I repeated. Good. Good. Good, he confirmed in a that's final tone. I tried my hardest to hold back a smile. If you were jealous, just say so. His head whipped up so fast I heard a crack. What? I said if you're. I heard what you said, stupid. I blinked in surprise. How rude. Don't call me stupid. Reese raised his eyebrow and smirked. Touchy are we, nerd, he commented while he put his shirt back on, much to my dismay. No, I just don't tolerate rude manners. Oh God, you sound like our headmaster, he said with disgust rolling off his tongue. I really want to punch you. Once again, amusement flashed across his eyes. Go ahead and punch me. What? I said. I heard what you said, stupid. Reese gave me a look, one that said, who's the rude-mannered one now, hypocrite. Again, Reese put on his girly voice, no. Princess just called me stupid. Oh, how rude. Shut up. Oh, Princess swore again. This time, I pulled my hand back into a fist and closed my eyes as I aimed at him. In less than 2 seconds I found my fist enveloped into Reese's hand, only centimeters away from his face. He cocked his head to the side, looking very intrigued. Chloe, why aim at my face? How could you even think about hurting a pretty face like mine? I didn't mean to aim at your face, I was going to hit you in the chest, I told him honestly. Besides, you told me to punch you. I replied as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. It doesn't matter. You're too weak anyway. Excuse me. I said you're. I heard what you said. I snapped. Then why do you keep acting like you didn't? He smirked. I ignored him, then turned around to walk away. I hadn't even made a step in the other direction before Reese grabbed my hand and spun me around towards his chest. Okay, fine, I'll stop teasing. Promise. His eyes narrowed. Yes. Now make a fist. You want me to punch you again? I don't even consider that girl a tap a punch. Now make a fist, he ordered. I did so and he shook his head in disappointment. What are you doing? That's not how you make a fist. That's how you break your knuckles. Geez, sorry, it's not like I'm a professional fighter or anything. Reese didn't say anything about my comment. I was going to ask him why he didn't tell me he fought, but something told me he didn't want to talk about it. Everyone knows you never put your thumb inside, you keep it out across these fingers like this. His fingers held mine as he positioned them correctly. I managed to keep steady and not be too affected by his touch, which was currently sending sparks. You want to hold your fist in a completely clasped position. You don't want to have it open with the thumb out, or you can break your thumb and you also lose stability in your fist. You also don't want to have it to the side like that. It is more powerful and stronger holding it like this. I nodded and looked at his hand, which was still holding onto mine. Not like I'd complain. Now try again. I gave him an uneasy look and he chuckled. Don't worry, you won't hurt me. I held my hand back and gave all my strength into that punch. Again, he caught my hand just in time. Not bad, he commented. I glared at him. That punch was perfect, and you know it. Maybe. Fine. Deny it. Okay, I will. Fine. Fine. I swear, his stupid, sexy smirk is nothing but trouble. After tearing my eyes away from his intense stare, I glanced at the clock and gasped. It's late. So, I have a curfew. I finished lamely. Sucks to be you. J.E. Yeah. I'm a jerk. You've made that quite clear already, Chloe. Just thought I should remind you every now and again. I smiled. He grabbed his sports bag and signaled me to follow him towards the back entrance. When I saw his motorbike, a part of me died. Are you serious? You know, any other girl would kill to be in your place. Riding on my baby with her arms around a sexy beast like me is like every girl's dream come true. You're so modest. I claimed sarcastically. Honestly, Reese, can your ego get any bigger? I don't have a big ego, Reese replied calmly, I'm way too cool for that. I just gave him a blank stare. Reese got onto his bike and held out a helmet for me to wear. I took it and observed it for a couple of minutes. I remember my last experience on Reese's bike quite vividly, and it wasn't one I quite liked either. Reese sighed, girls, you can live with them, you can't wait, no, that's pretty much it. Stop being a pussy. Language. Get on, Your Highness. I rolled my eyes and walked towards his bike. I can't believe it. Did I have a death wish? All I had to do was get on the bike and put my helmet on, but I was interrupted by a smooth voice. A voice I recognized immediately. A voice I could never forget. Chloe. I hate his voice. I hate the way my name rolls perfectly off his tongue. I hate the way every word has satisfaction lingering in it. I hate how after all this time, his voice still affected me. But most importantly, I hate how deep inside, my heart keeps saying, who are you kidding? You love it. I turned around, not daring to breathe, not because I was scared but because looking at him only pained me. Ashton. Chapter 14. When I was a little girl, I used to read fairy tales. In fairy tales, you meet Prince Charming, and he's everything you ever wanted. In fairy tales, the bad guy is very easy to spot. The bad guy is always wearing a black cape, so you always know who he is. Then you grow up and you realize that Prince Charming is not as easy to find as you thought. You realize the bad guy is not wearing a black cape and he's not easy to spot, he's really funny, and he makes you laugh, and he has perfect hair. Taylor Swift. Comment Vast Tuesday, Ma Belle? How are you, my beautiful? His bright blue eyes glinted in the nightlight. Immediately I was captivated by the intensity. His deep golden hair was messed up perfectly, and of course, how could one forget to notice his smirk? I remembered this one time when my baby cousins came over, they brought their favorite cartoon, 101 Dalmatians. There was this catchy tune about the mean woman that stole the cute puppy's Cruella devil. The moment I heard it, I had rearranged the lyrics to Sweet Ashton. Ashton Deville. Ashton Deville. If he doesn't hurt you, no one ever will. He'll play you, then he'll break you, and boy, will it kill. He's Ashton, Ashton Deville. Ma Belle? My beautiful? I asked skeptically. For as long as I remembered, Ashton and I always spoke in French. Although Ashton is only half French, he was born and raised in France. Andre, his best friend, along with a couple of deadly gangsters, formed his clan. Ashton and Andre had intelligence and power, whereas his followers had the strength to kill without hesitation. Overall, they were more than dangerous, they were lethal. Amour, Tuesday seras toujours ma belle Chloe. Love, you will always be my beautiful Chloe, he simply responded. I cursed my heart for pounding frantically against my chest. Stupid, stupid, Chloe. Even after all this time, he can still hurt you. Jemin fiche. Makes no difference to me. I ensured him. He laughed, Enarits pas de tle dire, mais nous savons la vérité les deux, ma belle. You keep telling yourself that, but we both know the truth, my beautiful. I raised my eyebrows. Oh? Et c'est quoi c'est exactement? Oh? And what's that exactly? He took enough steps until he was close enough for me to smell his cologne. Memories flooded back, and it made me want to smile and cry at the same time. His eyes were fully focused on mine. Locked. Bolted. No way of tearing apart. He smirked again. C'est que toi et moi, nous appartenons les uns auxiliaires autres Chloe. That you and I belong to each other, Chloe. At that moment, I couldn't tell my feelings. I couldn't just name one of them. I had so many emotions, it may have all formed together to be nothing. All I knew was that I wanted to get away from him. Non, Ashton. Tuesday as tort. No, Ashton. You're wrong. This time, Ashton raised an eyebrow and looked at me cynically. Laije Raymond, Chloe. Am I, Chloe? I was getting frustrated. I was determined not to let my guard down. My walls were stone barriers and there was no way I was letting Ashton break them down again. Tout entre nous est fini ash. Arrête me faire paraître et un mec mal, jeta mais et Tuesday as fate du mal. Everything between us is over, Ash. Stop making me sound like the bad guy. I loved you and you hurt me. His eyes softened a little, almost as if he regretted what he did. J'aime toujours, Chloe. I still love you, Chloe. No, no, no. I felt like screaming, I felt like disappearing from the face of the earth. Why is he doing this? Why is he trying to play with my feelings again? Why are you letting him? Maze, Genetma plus Ashton. But, I don't love you anymore, Ashton. Lie, lie, lie. Yes. I was lying. The truth is, I will never stop loving Ashton DeVille. How can you just forget about someone that gave you so much to remember? He made me into the person I am today. Cupid's assistant wouldn't exist if it weren't for him. I think of him every time I give advice to someone, and I give advice to people every day. I can't lie to myself. He may have hurt me, caused me emotional pain and broke my heart, but he was the first guy I'd fallen in love with. He was perfect. He treated me like a princess. Everything was magical. It was like I was living in an enchanting fairy tale. But we all know fairy tales don't exist. Tuesday TNES déjà distancé ma belle? Moved on already, my beautiful. His eyes veered away from mine, to focus on something behind me. He had accusation written all over his face. For the first time, I turned away from him and towards where he was focused on. Reese Carter. For the millionth time that night, I cursed myself. How had I managed to forget he was there the entire time? Throughout my intense conversation with Ashton, Reese had been casually leaning against his bike, looking slightly amused. When his eyes met mine, an instant smile formed onto my lips. There was something about Reese that simply made me happy. We, Ashton. Jetai replace. Yes, Ashton. I've moved on. Avec lui? With him. He motioned towards Reese with revulsion rolling off his tongue. Lie. We. Yes. Ashton looked a little taken back. I knew Ash like the back of my hand. I could read him like an open book. His knuckles had gone white because of the fist he had made. This indicated he was angry. His eyebrows furrowed, which showed he was confused. Finally, his eyes kept searching into mine, contemplating if I was telling the truth or not. Prove-le-moi. Prove it. Pardon? Excuse me. He cocked his head to the side and straightened out his coat. Jai did, prove-le-moi. I said, prove it. I had to prove to Ashton that I had moved on with Reese. Somehow I had to show him that Reese is my boyfriend. Yay life. Sorry to interrupt your delightful conversation, but is there something wrong? Reese filled in the silence. I almost wanted to laugh. If only he knew what was coming next. I gave him a sweet smile, but deep inside I was praying that he'd follow the script I'd written in my head. No, nothing's wrong, babe. I entwined our fingers together. I tried not to think about the fact that my hand fit perfectly in his, almost like it belonged there. He looked puzzled and my eyes were begging him to go with the flow. Reese, I'd like you to meet Ashton DeVille, my ex. Ashton's eyes narrowed the slightest bit at the word ex. He was losing his patience, but I continued anyway. And Ashton, meet Reese Carter, my boyfriend. Before Reese could react and possibly ruin everything, I gripped the back of his soft hair and used all my strength as I crashed my lips onto his. While my eyes were closed, I gently bit down on his lower lip. He returned the kiss immediately. Kissing Reese was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. It seemed like every time I kiss him it's because I want something out of it. I know, but it also had a risky touch that gave me an adrenaline rush. It was then when I realized I want Reese Carter in my life. We gently parted when I heard the sound of Ashton clearing out his throat. Well, I'd say it was a pleasure to meet you, but then I'd be lying. Ashton told Reese. Reese smiled, only it wasn't a very nice one. Feelings mutual. Reese walked towards his bike and I watched as it roared to life. He patiently waited while I said my farewell to the guy that had the biggest impact in my life. Au revoir, Ashton. Goodbye, Ashton. He shook his head and let out a small chuckle. Rappelle-toi, Chloe, Tuesday ne trouveras jamais quelqu'un comme moi. Just remember, Chloe, you'll never find someone like me. My lips tugged into a tired smile. Voila, c'est la point. That's the point. I got onto the back of Reese's bike and slid my arms around him. I rested my head against his jacket and breathed in the scent of leather as I closed my eyes. I could feel my hair dancing wildly in the wind and remembered that I should have worn the extra helmet he'd offered. All well, it didn't matter anymore now. Yo, chica, open your eyes. No, sure, I was being stubborn, but I just wanted the ride to be over with. Chloe, trust me. I already do. A lot more than I probably should. I hesitantly peered through my lashes and was instantly stunned by the city lights. I lifted my head off his back and took a look around me. Everything was mesmeric. Advertisements, signs, and posters hung from almost every building in a dazzling array of colors, and they contrasted significantly when compared to the pitch-black sky. "It's beautiful," I whispered. He turned to our street and decelerated until his bike came to a stop in his driveway. We both got off and stood facing each other for a moment. "I'm sorry, Reese." I played with my necklace. "I'm so sorry you had to meet Ash, and I'm sorry for forcing you to." "Don't sweat about it." I gave him a sheepish smile. "Okay, good night then." "Night." I was about to leave, but some force stopped me. Instead, I flung my arms around Reese's neck and hugged him. I felt his body tense in surprise, but nevertheless, he returned the hug. It was moments like this that I guess attracted me most about Reese. He's cocky, rude, and a total badass jerk, but sometimes he's also a sweet, amazing guy. I should go. You have 47 seconds until your curfew starts. My eyes widened, and it took a very long moment for it to register through my head. Oh shit. Oh no, Princess swore again. Reese teased in his exaggerated girly voice. I sprinted to my front door and opened the door to reveal two very frustrated parents. After telling them that technically, I hadn't broken any rules and that I promise it'll never happen again, I was told to go to my room, where I finally collapsed onto my bed. "Yo, Chloe." I sat up straight and walked towards my window. Reese had changed into his pajama pants, but he wasn't wearing a top. My eyes immediately trailed down his chest. "Stop staring at his ABS. Stop staring at his ABS." "Yeah." His eyes narrowed and a mischievous smirk played on his lips. "Stop kissing me." My mouth formed a big O. "What?" I said. "Sto." "I heard what you said." I snapped. "Then stop." "You're not even a good kisser anyway," he teased. Again, I was in too much shock to speak. "What? You're so lying." "Whatever." "Fine. You know what? I won't kiss you ever again unless you ask me to kiss you," I declared. Amusement flashed through his eyes. "Do you really think that I'll ask you to kiss me, Chloe?" I smirked. "Reese, one day, you'll be begging me to kiss you. Wanna bet?" "Oh, it's on." Chapter 15. I flipped through my diary and pointed my finger on the subject I had right now and smiled when it read math. I've always loved math and English and biology and chemistry. Okay, I love all my subjects, but math is definitely on top of the list. Sure, it's easy for me, but that's not why I love math. I love it because, although math can teach us how to add love or minus hate, it proves to us that every problem has a solution. Very philosophical, I know. I sat next to Gabby, who immediately ignored the girl she was previously talking to and began making a conversation with me. "Hey gorgeous," she leaned over and we swiftly kissed, me on the cheek as I did on hers. "Hey. How are you?" I smiled as I started to open my textbook and grab out a pacer from my pencil case. "Fine. Guess what? What? Her face dropped. Oliver's invited me to meet his parents. Wow. That's great. Gabby looked at me like I'd grown 3 heads. Or not. I finished. She slapped my hand, making me wince. Chloe. I'm being serious. I'm freaking out. Geez, chill. There's nothing to be freaked out about. I'm sure if they get past how much of a loser you are, they'll love you. Gabby slapped me again. Ouch, Gabby, you're so violent. I grumbled whilst rubbing my arm. You deserved it. Mina. She laughed. Ah, Chloe, you're so cute. I let out a little fake laugh and quickly completed the worksheets our teacher had handed out. Chloe, what's the answer to question 4? It's, figure it out yourself. There's not enough space to write that, it's a 2-digit answer. She said sincerely. I could only hope she was not being serious. Hey, guess what? I saw Charlie drive Allie to school this morning. My head snapped up in her direction. Really? Yeah, they were even walking to class together. Are they going out? I don't know, I replied honestly. After everything that happened last night, I had totally forgotten to call Allie and ask about what happened after they left. I hope they are. Gabby smiled while doodling on the side of her worksheet. They'd make a really cute couple, she added. Yeah? You think so? Sure. Then we could organize double dates. The excitement in her voice made me laugh. But it was only half-heartedly. What was wrong with me? I should be happy for them, right? Right? All that's left is for you to get a boyfriend, she finished. I rolled my eyes. Totes. A few moments of silence passed by before Gabby spoke again. How about Reese Carter? My eyes widened to its full extent. After I finally found my voice, I managed to choke out some words. WW what? Reese Carter. You know the hot guy? Green eyes, brown hair, tall, dreamy, gorgeous, godlike, sexy. Yeah, Gabby. I get it. You should go out with him. Again, I was too baffled to reply immediately. No way. Are you crazy? Is that a rhetorical question? She asked, looking pretty confused. I worry about her sometimes. I chose to ignore her and begin the next worksheet. Halfway through the questions, Gabby chose to make a comment again. I think he likes you. I felt myself blushing and let out a sigh. I thought you said he doesn't date. He also doesn't give girls rides on his motorbike. So there's a first time for everything. Besides, I think you like him too. I do not. I said instantly, feeling myself turn redder than before. In denial, are we? I'm not denying anything, I'm stating the truth. I don't like Reese Carter. Right? Right. Then, why did it feel like I was not only trying to convince Gabby, but more like trying to convince myself? Okay, whatever floats your boat. I was finishing off the last math equation when I heard her mutter something under her breath. Something that sounded a lot like, "You guys would make the perfect couple though." Sorry. Gabby sighed. Never mind. Gabby, tell me what you said. Sorry to interrupt your class, Mr. Walker. our headmaster's voice silenced the room. "May I please have a word with Mississippi Armel?" Her eyes scanned the room and her lips formed into a smile when they landed on me. My heartbeat accelerated. All eyes were focused on me as I slowly stood up and packed my things. My hands were trembling the slightest bit while I gathered my books and pens. I followed the headmaster out the door and continued in silence until we reached her office. I felt faint. A million things were going through my head. Every single thought revolved around one thing. They had found out about the breaking in. They must have discovered I was there. Maybe they had surveillance cameras operating around the school? If so, why would she want to talk to me? Why me? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just an innocent victim who was at the wrong place at the wrong time. It was Reese's fault and Valentino's and Jake and Jaden's hell. It was even Dennis' fault regardless of how much of a goody two-shoes he is. Which led me back to a thought that was making my stomach churn. Was I going to be expelled? Mississippi Armel. My head spun up to look into her dark blue eyes. Her chestnut-colored hair was in a tight bun and her manicured fingers lay entwined in front of her. "Sorry, Mississippi, can you please repeat what you said?" I said, "Do you know why you're here? To die?" "No, I don't." She gave me a kind smile which scared me even more. Her smile was genuine, not a mean one. She wouldn't give a sweet smile to someone she was about to expel, would she? You would expect someone to give you a mean, evil smirk to say the least. But if I wasn't getting expelled, why was I here? She opened her mouth to speak. There was only one thing going through my head. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That, and I am going to kill Reese Carter. Congratulations, you're being placed into our specialist math class. I blinked. Twice. 3 times. She was still there. 4 times. She probably thought I had a disability. "I beg your pardon. You're currently ranking first in the whole of Year 11. I've heard you're 7 chapters ahead of your advanced math class, and that the last time you had gotten a mark below 100% was 7th grade, which was 99. You're a very bright student, Chloe. Would you like to accept the challenge?" I was astonished. I was being offered to be put into a Year 12 specialist math class. I was amazed beyond belief. Yes. I'd love to. I almost squealed before quickly covering it up with a cough. I mean, yes please, I really appreciate the opportunity, miss. Great. I thought you'd say that. Here's your new timetable, Mississippi Armel. I took the piece of paper from her outstretched hand and walked towards the door when she told me I was dismissed. Before I touched the handle, I turned around and looked at her sitting in her massive leather chair like a boss. "Excuse me, Mississippi," my voice came out a bit shaky. Her eyes left the papers she was looking at and met mine. "Yes, Chloe." I was stunned. That was the first time she had called me by my first name. "Did you ever find out who broke into the school?" She played with the gold pen in her hand, her face completely expressionless. "Yes. When it was time for our first break, I searched through my bag and took out a red apple. Sinking my teeth into the juicy fruit, I made my way over to Ally's locker. Instead, I saw Charlie. I walked up to him and gave him a hug. Hey Charlie. Don't call me Charles, WOAAH, hold on a minute, hold on, this can't be true. Who are you and what have you done with Chloe? Exaggerate much? Oh, no, Chloe, this is not exaggeration. This is unfucking believable. Language. English. What? Hey guys. Both of us looked over to Allie, who was cheerfully sucking on a lollipop. Hey, here's your textbook, thanks for letting me borrow it, Charlie said as he handed over Allie's chemistry book. She gave him a wide smile before turning around to pop it back into her locker. A few of Charlie's friends on the swimming team called him over. He told us he'd see us at lunchtime and headed towards the other guys. Allie and I found a spare classroom and went inside. Tell me everything, I demanded loud and clear. I wanted to know exactly what happened last night. Well, are you guys together? I gushed out before she could speak. No. I raised my eyebrows. No. No, she shook her head, although she didn't seem sad. Are you okay with that? I suggested it. Huh. If I recall correctly, she was the one that claimed she loved Charlie. Last night, after we watched the movie, we talked about us. Yeah, go on, I urgently pushed her. I just realized that I don't like him like that anymore. He's more like a brother, a friend, everything's just platonic between us. The bell rang, signaling for us to make our way to our next class. I let out a sigh of relief and instantly felt guilty. You can lie to others all you want, a fake smile can cover 1,000 unshed tears, but you can't lie to yourself. The truth is, there was always a part of me that never wanted Charlie and Allie to get together. Saying it to myself just made me feel mean and selfish. I guess, I just always knew they would never work out. I had no hope for them. That's why I was dreading the breakup if they even did get together. I didn't want to have to choose between Allie and Charlie, predominantly because I already knew exactly whom I'd pick. Charlie. Every single time. The rest of the day went by in a rush, and before I knew it, I was walking through the front door of my house. Taking off my shoes, I walked into the kitchen where my mother was placing assorted freshly baked muffins into a wooden basket. It was moments like these where she constantly reminded me of that redhead off Desperate Housewives, Brie Vandekamp. I mentally shivered inside. Hey Mum, who are they for? I asked as I gave her a kiss on the cheek. They're for the lovely lady next door. I met her earlier today before work and she insisted on inviting us for afternoon tea. Your father's got a late shift tonight, so it's just us two then. You mean the people living on our right or left? I asked nervously, then I remembered something. The people living on our left were gay. On our right, the Carters. Now go get changed, we're going there in 10. Yay life. 15 minutes later, I found myself awkwardly sitting in Reese's guest room along with my mother and Reese's mother Aurora. I wondered where Reese was. So, Chloe, what grade are you in? I looked up into Aurora's rich, brown eyes. She was a really beautiful woman, really young looking too. I smiled. 11. Oh, In that case, I don't suppose you've met my son, Reese. He's in the year above you. I know him, we're friends. Why did that sound more like a question than a statement? Maybe because I don't even know what we are. At that moment, the sounds of keys rattling through the door met my eyes and we all looked towards where Reese was standing like a badass god with his messy hair and his bag slung over one shoulder and a few buttons of his shirt undone. He glanced my way and although he was confused, he sent me a smile that made me forget how to breathe. He kissed his mother then greeted mine, before he excused himself to go upstairs and change. We left soon afterwards and I was relieved it was over. I walked up the stairs to my bedroom and turned on my laptop where I found myself bombarded with letters to Cupid's assistant. Dear Cupid's assistant. I've been hurt by too many guys in the past, my heart's been tossed around and been used way too much. I don't think I can trust guys anymore. But there's this guy in my art class and he's so sweet. He asked me out to dinner tomorrow and gave me his number. I said I'll think about it. Can I trust him? Sasha. I sighed. If only I had $1 every time I got a question like this. Dear Sasha. Until a man has done something to make you not trust him, don't make him pay for the troubles other men have caused. Call him. Forget the risks and take the fall. If it's meant to be, it'll be worth it all. Hey, that rhymed. XOXO. CA. I scanned through a few more, before I took interest in another one. Dear Cupid's assistant. Which one do you prefer? American boys or British boys? Flirt alert. I laughed quietly. Sometimes people didn't want advice at all, they just wanted some fun. Dear Flirt alert. British boys all the way. Here are 7 reasons why. 1. His accent. 2. Having someone call you love. 3. His accent. 4. They dress better than American boys. 5. His accent. 6. They're cuter than American boys. 7. His accent. Aha, but always remember, in the end, it's the personality that counts, you can choose who you fall for. XOXO. CA. I lifted my laptop and brought it with me while I lay down on my bed. After logging onto Facebook and checking my notifications and replying to my inboxes, a thought suddenly came to my mind. In the white rectangular box at the top of my page, I typed in 2 words and clicked search. Reese Carter, 209 mutual friends. Instinctively, I clicked on his profile. His display picture was taken with Valentino, both shirtless at the pools. Without realizing it, I went through his profile pictures. What? It's not my fault the idiot doesn't understand the term privacy settings. 573 likes, 796 likes, 618 likes. Oh my god. Who the heck has that many likes on a picture? I mean, I know he's breathtakingly hot, but really? Over 500 likes? The most I'd ever gotten on my display picture was 14. I scrolled down the hundreds, nearly thousands of comments. They mainly consisted of girls typing hottie, with hearts and smiley faces. I wanted to puke. I clicked the close button but missed. My heart skipped in my throat. I had mistakenly clicked add friend. No. That's not what I was planning to do. Damn it. One new notification: Reese Carter has accepted your friend request. Oh God. Inbox 1. This can't be good. I hesitantly clicked on the red notification. Reese Carter. Cheers for the ad, but you know, Cinderella never Facebook stalked Prince Charming. I could just imagine him smirking through the net. Chloe Armel. What made you think you were Prince Charming? Reese Carter. 'Cause I'm every girl's dream. I thought you already knew that? Chloe Armel. Sure. Whatever helps you sleep at night. He didn't reply for 6 minutes. Reese Carter. Sorry, princess. Slow replies, taking care of an idiot who's pissing me off. I kept myself busy for 3 minutes before I replied. I didn't want to seem like I had nothing else to do. Chloe Armel. Is everything okay? He only took 3 minutes this time, but his reply made my blood turn cold. Reese Carter. Everything's perfect. It's settled. I'm fighting him after school tomorrow. I guess sometimes you gotta teach someone the hard way. Chloe Armel. WOAH, hold on, are you serious? Reese Carter. Yup, schoolyard tomorrow. 4 p.m. Hey, you might even know the guy Tyler Alexander? Oh my God. Tyler. Of course, I knew Tyler. He's on the swim team with Charlie. Chloe Armel. You're going to fight Tyler? Why? Reese Carter. I take it you're friends with him. Chloe Armel. I wouldn't say friends, I just know him, but he's a nice guy. And he's younger than you and shorter. Haven't you heard the saying, pick on someone your own size? 7 minutes later. Reese Carter. So you're saying I'm not a nice guy? Nah, Chloe, you wound me deep. Yeah, well, haven't you heard the saying, I'm Reese Carter, and I don't give a fuck? I just stared at the screen, fully stunned. Chloe Armel. I didn't mean it that way. I have to go. Good night, Reese, stay safe XX. Reese Carter. Sweet dreams, princess. Try not to dream of me too much. Chapter 16. As I walked through the school corridors, I couldn't help but think. Wow, news travels fast at Prescott Private. Every single person was talking about the punch on after school. Hell, people were placing bets on who they'd reckon would win. You're not in my math class anymore? That sucks. Gabby brought me out of my reveries. My lips formed into a smirk. More like YAAY freedom. I chuckled. She slapped me. Geez. I'm joking. No, Chloe, I'm so proud of you, little nerd. Charlie messed up my hair before I could shoo him away. I looked across from Gabby to Charlie and back again. You two are bullies. They just laughed at me. See? Emotional abuse right there. Yeah, but you love us. Charlie punched me softly. See? Physical abuse. I rolled my eyes. Yeah, totes. Oh my God, guys. Have you heard about the fight that's on after school today? Allie gushed out as she rushed to our table. Everyone has, Allie. Charlie commented. A bit slow there, don't you think? Gabby added. Shut up. Ali mumbled, looking embarrassed. Why are they fighting anyway? This caught my attention. Not sure, but I've got a feeling Tyler's the one who started this. I don't know this Reese guy too well, but as far as I know, he doesn't really give a shit about anyone, nor does he take shit from anyone. I finished my orange juice and stood up to throw it in the bin. On my way there, I passed a group of boys. Tyler was among them, looking very, very smug. I was feeling extremely nervous. Why? Because I was standing outside my last class for the day, Year 12 Specialist Math. I was going to be the only Year 11 there, and I don't even know that many Year 12s. Yay life! The corridors were becoming empty. I said one last prayer to the Lord and opened the door. Ah, you must be Chloe. The teacher was a middle-aged man, nothing too out of the ordinary. He had a tall nose where his thin-framed glasses rested on, and his broad smile was very welcoming. Yeah, I said shyly when the entire class looked at me. Great, great. I'm Mr. Collins, I've heard a lot about you. We've never had a Year 11 in a Year 12 specialist class. He turned towards his students, so class, make sure you Chloe feels very welcome. I just blushed and looked at my shoes. Okay, find a seat wherever you like, and here, he handed me a worksheet. Try these. If you have any problems, just give me a shout. Thanks. I looked around properly for the first time and tried my hardest to avoid everyone's stares. I didn't care whether they were friendly smiles or not. I didn't like being the center of attention in awkward situations. There were basically 4 rows of seats. The first row was packed with the typical stereotypical nerds, braces, glasses, pimples, you get the drift. The second row consisted of the stuck-up nerds. You know, the ones that might think you're mentally challenged if you don't know the square root of pi to 27 decimal places. The third row would be where I would prefer to sit if they weren't all occupied. The third row involved of smart people with a life. I guess, I was left with only one choice. The fourth row, reserved for Reese Carter. My mind was not registering properly as I sat down in the seat beside him. Reese Carter. He was in specialist math? Really? You're in specialist math? I finally yelled. His eyebrows formed into a playful frown. I bet that's really hard to believe, right Chloe? He might have meant it as a joke, but a part of me knew he was hurt by my question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I turned scarlet red. I had offended him and it was actually killing me inside. We didn't say much after that. I quickly completed all the questions and hesitantly peered through my lashes to catch a glance at Reese. He had his feet on the desk and his arms were crossed behind the back of his head. Had he already finished? No way. I looked up to see everyone else's heads down as they scurried to finish the math problems before the bell. Was Reese really that fast? Are you stuck on a problem, Chloe? Mr. Collins asked beside me. I jumped, not expecting him to be so close. No. I finished. His left eyebrow shot up. Oh? Great. I'll mark it now. He took out his red pen from the front pocket of his shirt and I watched as he put a tick next to all my answers. A minute later, the bell rang. Everyone packed up their own things and left. Reese shut his folder and made an attempt to leave, but I stood in his way. "We need to talk." He didn't even bother looking at me, which only made my heart sink deep into my chest. "Later." "No, right now." "Chloe." Mr. Collins' friendly voice called me. I turned around to look at him, feeling very annoyed. "Yes, sir. Can I speak to you for a moment?" I looked back to tell Reese to wait for me and scowled when no one was in view. The jerk had already left. I unwillingly brought myself to Mr. Collins' desk. "Is there something wrong?" "Wrong? No, everything's perfect. You got 100%. I'm impressed. Seems like Reese has a rival." Mr. Collins chuckled. "What do you mean?" He let out a small laugh again. "Reese is usually the only person who gets full marks in this class." My eyes widened in surprise. "What? Why are you so surprised?" "Because I don't know his personality. I've never seen him study, or read a book, or do something that shows that he cares about his future. He's always reckless and carefree, rude and impatient, mean and wild and absolutely amazing." Mr. Collins laughed again. "I know exactly what you mean, Chloe." He let out a sigh. But there's more than what meets the eye." "How so?" "Well, for starters, he ranks first in not only year 12, but the entire school." I stood there, dumbfounded and absolutely speechless. Mr. Collins noticed my expression and gave me a toothy grin. "You should see your face right now. Reese really ranks first." "Sure does. He's a bright kid, Chloe. Prescott is privileged to have him. The school is lucky he accepted our offer." This teacher was currently confusing the crap out of me. "What offer?" "Well," Mr. Collins ran his hand through his hair. "Reese is not like other students. Reese is here on a scholarship." Everything was finally making some sense to me. It was all adding up. When I was at Reese's house, I noticed that there weren't any pictures of his father. Aurora must be a single mother. Reese is smart. Hell, he's a frickin' genius for being ranked number 1 in the entire school. 2 nights ago, Jaden and Jake mentioned that Reese fought in championships for money he probably needed for school and a normal lifestyle. And last but not least, yesterday, the headmaster had said that she knew who broke into the school. Of course. She found out it was Reese, but she couldn't expel him. Prescott Private needs Reese. Wow. Just wow. Fight. 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 Voices of a cheering crowd brought me back to reality. I looked up, only to find my breath caught up in my throat. A relatively large audience had gathered around Reese and Tyler, encouraging one another to throw a punch. I felt like throwing up. Running as fast as I could manage in my school shoes, I tried to get through the crowd. After pushing and shoving some people and apologizing over 1 billion times, I finally came to a view. Tyler had his guard up. He was in full battle mode with his stern, intimidating expression on his face and the way he had his fists up for a punch. Reese, on the other hand, stood there casually with an amused, playful smile. "Well?" Are you going to hurry up already? I have places to go, people to see, things to destroy. Reese's calm voice surprised me. Did he not realize the dangerous situation he was in? Sure, right after I destroy your pretty face. Tyler sneered. His friends on the swim team were cheering him on. I noticed Charlie standing in the crowd shaking his head and running his fingers through his hair. Charlie was like me, we both weren't fond of fighting. Reese's eyes glistened as he smiled an adorable crooked smile. So you think my face is pretty? Yeah, pretty shit. With that, he aimed his fist directly to Reese's face. The crowd gasped and I closed my eyes, waiting for Reese to groan in pain. But it never happened. Hesitantly, I fluttered my eyes open only to see Reese have Tyler's fist in his grip, just like he had mine 2 nights ago at Cyrus. Was that really all you have? Let me teach you how the big boys play. The next thing I knew, Tyler was on the ground, gasping for breath. Valentino's laugh was able to be heard over the crowd's cheers. Oi Reese, try not to kill the kid, yeah. Reese smirked, I'll try, no promises though. He casually walked over to where Tyler was attempting to get up and failing miserably and pulled him up with his collar. Come on kid, don't tell me you've had enough already. Tyler's bright blue eyes were filled with hatred, anger, and a hint of embarrassment. He tried to serve another punch but again, Reese caught it, twisted his arm around his back and kneed him in the face, before kicking him into the dirt. Once again, he was on the ground. Blood began to run down Tyler's nose. Before I knew what I was doing, I pushed more people aside, forgetting to apologize in the process, and stood in front of Reese with my back against Tyler in defense mode. It was like Reese had just noticed I was there the entire time. His eyes softened a little before they turned cold with rage. You're protecting him? He asked with pure disgust. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. The whole crowd had silenced, and the only sound audible was Tyler's groans of pain. Well, Mr. Championship Fighter, it doesn't look like you're the one that needs protecting right now, I said bitterly. More bitterly than I had actually expected. Chloe, leave. Reese's jaw was locked and it was obvious he was pissed off, and boy did he look sexy when he was pissed off. No, I said quietly. You're testing my patience, princess. Ooh, seems like Reese has a little soft spot for Chloe, root you guys. Tyler managed to choke out in his state. I looked at him. Tyler, I would shut up if I were you. Unless you actually have a death wish. He put his hands up in surrender. He wiped off some of the blood running down his face with his sleeve and looked at it. This isn't over, Reese. I don't have any more time for you, you little shit, so let's get this over and fucking done with, pussy. Reese snapped. No. I yelled as I got in between them once again. Stop this. Stop fighting. Chloe, get out of the way. Reese growled at me. The intensity in his eyes was hard to look away from. We stared at each other, daring one another to blink. The atmosphere was tense. Too tense. I tore my eyes away from Reese's and looked directly into Tyler's. Leave. Tyler scoffed. What? I said, leave. Are you deaf? I snapped. I glanced at the audience watching in silence. Show's over, guys. Get on with your lives. People began to awkwardly move around and give curious looks to each other. I stood my ground and even shocked myself at how demanding my voice came out. "Do I need to repeat myself?" I said. "Leave. Or so God help me, I will report each and every one of you to our headmaster," I said in my most venomous tone I could manage. People began to scurry away. Tyler's friends were as hesitant to leave as Reese's friends were. Valentino muttered something to Jake, Jaden, and Dennis, and they gave me a look. I gave the exact same look to Charlie, who said something to his friends. A minute later, the entire schoolyard was empty, except for me, Reese and Tyler. A warm breeze made the tip of my dress go up and I vigorously pulled it down. I let out a sigh of frustration. "Tyler." "What?" he asked, annoyed and more aggravated than before. "Ever heard of make love not war?" He gave me a disgusted look. "You want me and Reese to make love?" "Yes." "What?" "No," I cried, feeling my cheeks blush. I spoke again when I gained my composure. "Tyler, please leave and let this go." "No." "Excuse me. I came here to fight." "Oh God. Why are men so darn stubborn?" I looked back at Reese, who was sitting down on the bench, waiting impatiently to know whether or not he's going to fight. "No, Tyler, you came here to die." Somehow, I knew my comment would make Reese happy. Well, I hoped it would anyway. Tyler's eyes averted mine, dry blood covered his face, and I searched my pockets for a tissue. Instead, I found antibacterial wipes. "What? I like being clean, okay? Here, wipe the blood off your face with this." I handed it to him and watched as he cleaned the area. I took out another antibacterial wipe and swiped it on his forehead, which was also bleeding. He winced in pain. "Sorry," I whispered quietly. "It's okay, and thanks for men were so stubborn to even apologize for when they were wrong." I chuckled. "It's okay. I don't think your boyfriend is too happy about you helping me out." Tyler nodded his head towards something behind me. I turned around to see Reese walking away down the road. "Ugh, he's not my boyfriend, he's just a jerk with an ego that's the size of Texas. I have to go. Stop starting fights, okay?" With that I ran as fast as I could, to catch up with Reese. God damn it, how did he get that far that fast? He was just walking. I, on the other hand, probably looked like someone who was physically retarded while I ran in my school shoes and kept holding my dress down so no one would get a nice show. "Reese." No answer. "Reese." I was right beside him now, and I hit him on the arm to get his attention. He just ignored me. Whoa, hold on a second, why aren't you talking to me?" Again, no answer. I stepped in front of him and held my arms out to his chest, ignoring the pleasant sparks from his warm, hard body and focused. "Move, Chloe." I ignored his order and gave him a slight push, not like it affected him or anything. He was as firm as a brick wall. "Are you angry at me?" I asked, my chest tightening, and it wasn't because I was out of breath. "Yes, now move." He tried to step to his left, but I quickly stepped to my right. "Why are you angry at me?" His eyes narrowed, and his jaw was locked again. He looked really pissed. I gave him another shove, harder this time. Why are you angry at me? I asked for the third time. Why did you step into our fight? He yelled. Oh, you can't seriously be mad at me because I was trying to keep the peace. I can and I will. Now go back and continue flirting with that pussy who can't even take a punch. He said bitterly. I flinched. Flirting? Are you insane? I was helping him rub off the blood dripping off his face, thanks to you. I screamed. Chloe, move out of my fucking way. His voice had power and authority dripping off it. For a moment, I was too shocked to react, and to be honest, I was a bit scared of him too. But I refused to show him my fear. I'm not afraid of you, Reese Carter. I gave him another shove. And don't you dare speak to me like that ever again. I looked at him straight in the eyes. I saw almost every negative emotion possible. Hurt. Rage. Confusion, frustration and hate. My heart began to pound hysterically. Then don't speak to me ever again. From now on, you live your life and I'll live mine, okay? Now, would you kindly move aside, princess? Frozen in shock, I gently stepped to my left and closed my eyes as I felt him walk past me. I felt like I had just lost Reese Carter, even if he was never mine to begin with. Chapter 17. There are moments in everyone's lives where we wished we had a universal control. There were times where all we want is to play the laughter, pause the memories, stop the pain and rewind the happiness. Finally, we've all wanted to go back in time and do things again, only, this time, we'd do it right. For the past 2 hours, 53 minutes and 18 seconds I have been lying on my bedroom floor, making scenarios up in my head. I had been imagining the fight between Reese and Tyler over and over again, and I couldn't help but think if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have changed a single thing. I would have still stepped into their fight even if I knew Reese would be mad at me afterwards. I just wanted to keep the peace. I just didn't want to see anyone hurt. I slowly sat up and hugged my pillow, holding the inanimate object close to my chest as I allowed myself to look out my window for the millionth time. For the millionth time in almost 2 hours and 54 minutes, I could feel my heart aching. Okay, I guess if I did have the chance to go back in time, I'd only change one thing: I wouldn't have let Reese walk away. Then don't speak to me ever again. From now on, you live your life and I'll live mine, okay? Now, would you kindly move aside, princess? His eyes burned within mine as he waited to see what I would do. I looked down at my shoes. You know that's not what I want. I whispered quietly, but it didn't matter. The street was empty, and the silence was becoming too loud to bear. Although Reese's anger was still there, his eyes softened. Then what do you want, Chloe? You. With that, I buried my face into his chest, letting the tears that I'd kept at the thought of losing Reese finally unleash. His arms wrapped around me and his chin rested above my head. Everything was going to be okay. Yes. If only I had a universal control. A week had passed since the fight. People moved on with their lives and eventually found other things to gossip about. Everything had finally gone back to the way it was before. Well, almost everything. Reese Carter had really stood his ground. I guess he had really meant it when he said he didn't want to have anything to do with me anymore. I didn't see Reese much around the schoolyard, and if I did happen to catch a glance, he'd always be talking to Valentino or one of the other boys. I hadn't talked to them over the past week either. It's not like they were avoiding me or anything, they'd just give me sad smiles as they'd walk past. Specialist math was by far the worst. The only seats that were ever available were the ones on the fourth row. Reese never noticed my presence, it was as if I was invisible. He'd just do his work, casually lean back in his chair and live his own life, just like he said he would. I guess what hurt most was the fact that just when I was sure I wanted Reese in my life, he had to walk out of it, and it was silently killing me. Reese's POV. I felt the gravel beneath my shoes while I put out my cigarette and lit a new one. Inhaling the smoke, I savored the cheap taste of nicotine, before letting it out along with all my worries and regrets. I felt Valentino sit beside me. For a while, we just sat on the rocky cliff, overlooking the city below us in silence. From the corner of my eyes, I saw him shake his head in disappointment. Bro, you are an idiot. You're gonna regret it if you let her go like that. I kept my eyes fixed on the view and scoffed. What would you know? I know that she's the reason why you're smoking again. Chloe has nothing to do with this. Bro, you can't fucking lie to me. She makes you happy. Hell, she makes you fucking smile, and that's a blessing. Plus, she actually makes you a bit more fun to be around with. Valentino smirked. Fuck you. You love me. Whatever. Another moment of silence passed, before Valentino smacked me right across the head. Oi. What the hell, man? Are you mentally challenged? What was that for? I winced as I rubbed the back of my head. I'm trying to put some sense into that thick head of yours, idiot. Geez, I thought Dennis was the only crybaby in the group. I held back a series of laughter when Dennis hit Valentino across the head. I'm right here, asshole. You want a piece of me? Valentino challenged with a playful smirk. Dennis tried his best to hide a smile. Come at me, brother. The next thing we knew, they were tackling each other in the dirt. Jake and Jaden came up a few minutes later. When they saw the wrestling scene in front of them, they merely avoided it and lay down on the grassy area beside me. Something was obviously bothering them. Normally, they would cheer them on or join in, much to my amusement. Okay, spit it out. What's gotten Tweedledee and Tweedledum in such a pissy mood? The twins exchanged glances, before looking away and ignoring my question. The silence was too much to endure for one night. I groaned in frustration. For Christ's sake, say something. You're an idiot. Jaden finally spoke, the sadness in his voice was fully comprehensible. And that's just a nice way of putting it. Jake finished off, throwing an empty beer bottle into some rocks. I watched as the glass shattered into millions of pieces. We really liked her, Reese. Jaden's eyes were fixed on the ground as a sad smile slowly formed on his face. She was funny and nice and so cute. Everything you're not. Jake finished once again. I met his hard eyes and flipped him off. My hands brushed along a rock, just relatively smaller than the size of my fist. I gripped it, then threw it across the cliff, and watched until it was out of view. So what do you two want me to do? Get her back. They both replied in sync as if it were the most obvious thing on the planet. I ran my fingers through my hair. How exactly do you two smartasses expect me to get her back when she was never mine to begin with? Jaden's face brightened into a hopeful smile. You'll think of a way, Reese. Jake smirked, or you could just look up at the clouds and hope that Mufasa will come and give you guidance. I was about to give Jake the finger again for his smartass comment, but someone's groan of pain distracted me. Ha, you actually thought you could beat me? In your dreams, Denny boy. Valentino bellowed proudly whilst he pinned Dennis down with his face in the earth. Get off me, fat ass. Dennis managed to choke out. Valentino chuckled before getting off him and wiping his shirt. Dennis rubbed his arm. I bet you eat children for dinner. Orphans are my favorite. Valentino winked. I rolled my eyes. I was surrounded by morons. Chloe Armel. It was a sunny Saturday morning, and both my parents would be at work till late, which left the house all to myself. I glanced at my phone and realized I was running low on battery. I hopped off my bed and plugged it in the charger. I was bored already. Knowing I had nothing else to do, I decided to make myself useful, so I turned on my laptop and replied to a few letters to Cupid's assistant. Dear CA, please don't judge me. There's this guy and he's cheating on his girlfriend with me. Yes, I'm the other woman. But I love him. I think he's the one. The only thing I don't understand is why he's not breaking up with his girlfriend. He keeps saying he will, but he never does. It hurts to see them walking and holding hands, kissing in the hallways. He tells me he doesn't care about her. I'm so confused. Anonymous. My eyes widened in astonishment before I quickly replied. No one should ever mess with someone else's feelings just because they're unsure of their own. Dear Anon, I'm not one to judge. I understand how upset and confused you must feel about this situation. I'm sorry, but you should let go of him. If he's willing to cheat with you, in time, he'll be willing to cheat on you. If you're not his only one, then he's not the one. XOXO. CA. I let out a sigh. I seemed to be doing a lot of those lately. My eyes wandered to my window, and I began to pity myself. I help so many people with their relationship problems every day, but when it comes to myself, I have no one to turn to. Ironic, isn't it? The cool morning breeze entered my room, and across my desk, a few of my notes and papers flew around my room. I focused on my diary. The wind had caused it to turn to a specific page. I looked a little closer and found myself grinning like an idiot. It was a picture of Cupid, carrying a bow and a quiver of arrows. Maybe I had someone to turn to after all. The doorbell rung. Skipping 2 stairs at a time, I rushed to open the door. When I did, I felt my smile broaden as I wrapped my arms around my best friend. Charles. Damn it. He muttered under his breath. I knew it was too good to last forever. What are you talking about? You calling me by my actual name? Why? But I like Charles. It sounds so posh and British. You know how I love anything British, Charles. Charlie rolled his eyes, regardless of the fact he was hiding a smile. Why did I bother coming to see you? Because you love me. Curiosity filled his eyes. Do I? I hit his chest, you better believe it. But that's so masochistic, he said dramatically. So is looking at your face. My face is gorgeous. Totes, that's why it hurts to look at you, I told him with a wink. His arm slid around my waist and pulled me closer. His piercing blue eyes twinkled with amusement. I always knew I had that effect on people, but to know that Chloe Armel has the same affect totally boosts up my confidence. He smirked. Like you really needed a bigger ego, Charles, I mentioned before, playfully shoving him back. So are you going to just make me stand here, or are you gonna let me in? I grabbed my keys off the counter and flashed Charlie a smile. Neither. We walked around the neighborhood and came across a public park. We watched as families had picnics and children played on the playground. A ball came flying towards us and I laughed as Charlie jumped and headbutted it. Your head finally came in handy, Charles, I teased. Charlie narrowed his eyes and smirked, a sign that he's planning to get me back. You're so asking for it, Chloe. Asking for what? This. With that, he tackled me to the ground and began tickling me at my sides. Seconds later, I found myself gasping for air, cursing Charlie but laughing at the same time. Stop. Stop it, Charlie, ha. I managed to cry out. Charlie ignored my demands and continued tickling me. I made a mental note to kill him later. Are you going to be nice to me from now on? He asked in a tone he'd normally use on a child. Yes, I promised as I tried to squirm away. He had his body hovering over mine as he continued to torture me. Now tell me you love me, he added in just for fun. I shook my head and laughed at how much of a jerk he was. I love you. The tickling gradually stopped, but he still had his arms holding onto the side of my waist. When I had my laughter under control, I looked up at him only to see that he was already staring at me intently. Under his gaze, I felt a warm blush spread over my cheeks. Charlie noticed and smiled, before brushing a loose strand of my hair behind my ear. I stared into his clear blue eyes, which held onto countless memories of the two of us since we were kids. My childhood best friend lowered his gaze onto my lips before he leaned down to kiss me. Chapter 18. It was as if my brain started to click into action, only when Charlie's lips were millimeters away from my own. I used all of my strength to push him off of me. I sat up and watched him lay down on the grass beside me. Sadness washed over his face. It broke my heart to see him like this. I sighed. We can't, Charlie. His forehead creased in confusion. Charlie always looked adorable when he was confused. He was like a lost puppy. Why not? Because you're not Reese Carter. Because you're my best friend and I love you so much, I could never risk the chance of losing you. He got up and looked into my eyes, searching for a sign that he still had a chance. When he couldn't find one, he sighed. I wish we were 5 years old again. I smiled. Why? Because I remember asking you to marry me in the sandpit, and you said yes. I burst out laughing at the memory. Oh my God, yes. And you gave me one of those lolly rings at our wedding. And we gave our first kiss to each other. He chuckled as he overlooked the rose bushes in front of us. It was true, I gave my first kiss to Charlie, as he gave his to me back when we were 5 under the oak tree in kindergarten in front of all our friends while they screamed and assured us that we were going to get cooties and boy germs. I lay my hand on his and made him look at me. One day, you will find an amazing girl who's perfect for you. Someone beautiful on the inside and out, someone who'll make you laugh till your cheeks ache and your life meaningful. His blue eyes shimmered like the summer ocean. Chloe, I'm looking at her right now. I put my arms around his shoulders. Charlie, you deserve a girl who will love you right, someone who can return 1,000,000 times the amount of love. Hurt flashed through his eyes as he exhaled a deep breath. I hated knowing I was the reason for him feeling this way. Charlie's fingers played with mine as he looked at them. I wish it was you, he whispered just for my ears to hear as he held me in his arms and gently kissed my forehead. I laid my head against his chest and breathed in his familiar scent. Who knew that the day would come where Charlie King, my childhood best friend and Prescott Private's biggest player, would fall for me? Charlie walked me home. Things were a little tense. We didn't really talk much, but it was okay. I knew he needed a little time to himself to get over everything. I collapsed onto my bed and let out a breath. It seemed like life was getting depressing to depressing. I needed some excitement happening. I needed something to distract me from everything. Suddenly, my eyes focused on my closet full of dresses and heels. With a smirk playing on my lips, I scrolled down the contacts in my phone and clicked the call button. After 4 rings, she picked up and I could hear people in the background. "Hello," she laughed. "Hey, it's me. Chloe. The one and only. It's a Saturday night, don't you have homework or something?" she teased. "If you must know, I need a little fun in my life right now. I'll be there in 5. She mentioned before the line went dead. "Oh, Gabrielle Sanchez, I can always rely on you for moments like these." Around 40 minutes later, Gabby and I were dressed up and currently checking ourselves out in the mirror, for what I hoped would be a night to remember. Gabby smirked. "Damn, we look hot." I returned it with a not-so-modest smile of my own. "I know." Gabby was wearing a light purple strapless dress, which honestly didn't leave much to the imagination, but that's just my personal opinion. She wore silver high heels and had her hair in big curls that looked amazing on her. I decided to wear a tight, fitted black dress that reached above my knees but still looked classy. I straightened my hair till it was dead straight and wore cream stilettos with silver jewelry. Black mascara covered my lashes, making them stand out in the most elegant way. A little light pink lip gloss was added and viola. I was done. Always classy, never trashy, just a little bit nasty. 15 minutes later, Gabby and I walked up to the front door of the house party. It was one of those stereotypical American parties with loud music blasting, empty beer bottles strewn around the lawn and people everywhere, whether they were sitting outside making out or just talking. Oh, and of course, let's not forget the occasional drunk person stumbling around. "So, whose party is this anyway?" I asked casually when Gabby rung the doorbell. "You'll see soon enough." The door burst open and my eyes widened. Of course, it had to be Tyler's party. "Gabby baby, Tyler kissed Gabby on the cheek and gave her a hug that lasted a second longer than necessary. "Glad you could make it." Tyler's eyes landed on me. "Chloe Armel, well, isn't this a surprise?" he breathed as he practically eye-raped me right there. "Sorry Tyler, I didn't realize this was your party, or else I would have given you notice. I can leave if you want." He smirked. "There's no way I'm letting that happen. Come in, enjoy the night." All three of us entered through the door and I was momentarily stunned. Tyler's house was huge. Mansion was more fit for description. The temperature inside the house mansion was much hotter with all the people dancing and screaming the lyrics to the music. Most people had red cups in their hands and there was a mini bar at the side to refill their drinks. I followed Gabby as she poured herself a drink and held one out to me. I shook my head. I never drunk at parties. "Oh come on, one drink isn't going to get you drunk." "Maybe so, but I'm most likely driving tonight." She shrugged as she gulped down the alcoholic contents. "Suit yourself." To be honest, driving was just an excuse. I've never actually drunk alcohol in my life, let alone at a party where the possibilities of drinks getting spiked were high. Yes, I'm paranoid about stuff like that. Better to be safe than sorry. "Don't you reckon that guy's cute?" Gabby giggled. "Don't you have a boyfriend?" "I meant it for you, silly. Go talk to him." She wiggled her eyebrows suggestively. I cringed. "Maybe not." "Oh come on. You call me for a fun time, I'm trying to give you a fun time, but no, you won't drink, you won't talk to guys far out." Suddenly, I felt a pair of arms around my waist and someone's body touching the back of mine. I spun around and met dark blue eyes. "Enjoying the party, Mississippi Armel?" Tyler's hot breath met my ears. Somehow, we had managed to get in where people were dancing. Bodies were swaying to the beat everywhere. Tyler's hands are on my hips, pressing me against him. I shrugged. "I've been to better ones." He smirked again. "Maybe a dance with me can change your thoughts," he told me as he positioned my arms around his neck. "Don't hold your breath on it." I winked playfully. If the music wasn't loud before, the DJ blasted it up to the extent where you could practically feel each thump of the rhythm in your chest. I tried to not pay too much attention to the fact he kept pressing against me, but it was hard to ignore his lust-filled eyes. Tyler's hands began to slowly trail down from my waist and I knew then that it was definitely time to leave. I gripped his hands before they could get carried away and quickly made up an excuse to get away from this man-whore. "Pardon my French. I'm going to go get some air." Before he could reply, I distanced myself so that other people dancing could fill in the gap between us. I had to shift through everyone, which was easier said than done, because bodies were practically stuck to each other due to the amount of people in the room. I saw the white marble staircase and went up. After passing people making out in the hallways and many closed bedroom doors, my eyes fixed upon the balcony. The glass doors were already open and I didn't hesitate to enter outside into the chilly night. White roses were decorated around the limestone barriers as I took a look at the view below me. When I was ready to go back inside, I turned around only to bump into someone hard. "Sorry," I muttered before I had the chance to look up at who it was. When I did, My heart sunk in my chest. Seems like you have a habit of bumping into me, Chloe. Andre wore a smirk and walked towards me like he owned the place. What are you doing here, Andre? I asked, irritated. I'm at Tyler's party. He answered as if I had just asked the most stupid question. I scowled at him. How do you even know Tyler? Mutuals. He simply replied. Whatever, I'm off. I decided I didn't care anymore. Maybe coming here tonight was a bad idea. I hope I don't bump into you anymore, Andre, I added sincerely. I managed to take a step around him, but he gripped my arm and spun me to his chest so firmly, it made me yelp. Chloe, you always leave so soon. Come on, let's have some fun. He whispered huskily in my ear. My heartbeat accelerated from fear, which I was determined not to show him. With you? I scoffed. Ha, I'd rather die. Suddenly, it was as if the music had stopped, but it hadn't. It was just like a gentle thrumming in the background, as my eyes only focused on a pocket knife Andre had switched open, with its blade clearly visible and shining as the moonlight hit its metal surface. He smirked, that can be arranged, too. My breathing became ragged, only coming in short little pants. What scared me, no, terrified me, was the fact that I knew exactly what Andre was capable of. Andre was definitely capable of cold-blooded murder. You're cute when you're scared, Chloe. You're sick. I spat out in disgust. Another sadistic smirk played on his lips. No, just lovesick. Love? What would you know about love, Andre? I provoked. Okay, bad move. Note to self, never torment a guy with a knife. The next thing I knew, my body was pushed roughly against the brick walls of the balcony, and the cool blade was digging into my neck. All he had to do was apply a bit of pressure before it would cut open my skin. What do I know about love? His eyes had turned pitch black with rage. I should have known better than to aggravate a guy with serious anger management issues. I know enough to know that it hurts. His breath reeked of alcohol and his wrath was still there. Great, an angry drunk was exactly what I was searching for to get my mind off things. I've known you for 2 years, Andre. I've never seen you fall in love with a girl. That's because you were blind, he yelled in my face. Blinded by your love for your perfect Prince Charming. Well, Ash sure turned out to be the total opposite, didn't he, Chloe? Andre sneered. I would have never done all those things to you, Chloe. I would have never made bets or trick you. I would have never played with your feelings or... Stop! I screamed as I tried to tug away from his grasp. Stop it! Leave me alone! Don't you think I already know about all the things Ashton did? Why do you keep reminding me? Why do you enjoy seeing me in pain? Why are you happy of the fact that Ashton broke my heart? Because you deserve it. In fact, you deserve much worse. What? I croaked as a lump formed in my throat. You deserve the pain, Chloe. Andre repeated loud and clear. Because you caused me 10 times the amount of pain you suffered. I couldn't find the words to speak. How? You stupid girl, couldn't you see I was in love with you? Andre gritted through his teeth. I treated you like a princess, with the respect and honesty Ashton had only pretended to give you. I was the one who was there for you every time you felt down and needed cheering up. If someone was bothering you, I was the one that made sure they'd never see another sunrise. He gave me another shove against the bricks and I let out a cry of pain as my head hit the wall. But no, like they say, nice guys finish last. You ended up falling for Ashton DeVille. Why? I looked away and didn't bother to answer his question. Damn, I should have known it would infuriate him more. With one hand, he gripped my chin to make me look at him. Answer me. Was it because of his looks? Or because he had money? He asked with disgust dripping off his tongue. How dare you think of me like that? It's hard not to when you have your heart ripped out, torn apart from the first person you had ever let in. My whole life, I had built up all these defenses and walls around me, only to have a stupid girl like you break them down and steal my heart. I didn't ask for it, Chloe. I couldn't help but feel like ripping Ash's arms off when they held you like this. With that he slid his hands around my waist and pulled me in forcefully and brought his lips to my neck. I struggled to get out of his hold, but then my body froze once more when I felt his knife on my skin again. He took this opportunity to plant a soft, lingering kiss below my ear. I hate love, and it's all because of you, he whispered before he once again pushed me into the wall. The texture of the bricks were scabbing my bare back, making me wince. It was never my intention to hurt you, Andre. That's exactly what pisses me off more. You made me vulnerable, without even trying. I'm sorry. I don't want your apologies, he told me while he played with the sharp edge of his knife. I raised a brow in confusion. Then, what do you want? A dark smirk formed on his lips. You. Again, my heart began to beat much faster than normal. Excuse me. Ashton got to play with you, your friend, the one that likes to wear Calvin Klein. What was his name again? Oh yes, Charlie. He never stood a chance. That leaves me. It's my turn to play, don't you think, Chloe? Calm rage. Those two little words best described my emotion right now. I took long, silent deep breaths to help myself relax over the fact he was treating me like I was some inanimate toy with no feelings. So after a moment, I decided to put a smile on my face. Like I said before, I'd rather die. If his hard eyes weren't cold before, they passed as ice now. Your wish is my command, love, he scorned as he placed the knife below my neck. Any last words, Chloe? Don't aggravate him. Don't do it, Chloe. He's already mad as it is. Oh, stuff it, I was going to die anyway. Yeah, didn't you ever once think that I'm a little out of your league, Andre? I winked. The knife began to shake and his eyes fumed with anger. His chest rose up and down faster, and I swear, if looks could kill, I'd be 7 feet under by now. He stumbled across his words. Why you? Suddenly, someone's laughter caused him to stop breathing altogether. I dared to take a look at who had interrupted my near-death experience and felt my eyes widen in surprise. A hot, sexy badass in a black t-shirt and jeans, that could only mean one thing. Reese Carter. H-A-H-A-H-A, oh God, A-H-A-H-A-H, Reese snickered. You actually thought you stood a chance with my girlfriend? He pretended to wipe a tear from his eyes that were looking extremely amused and chuckled. Ah, man, that's cute. Chapter 19. What did you just say? Andri had finally regained his composure as he dared Reese to answer his question. Sure, he still looked like a sadistic psychopath, but at least his emotions weren't all over the place, and for that, I was thankful. Reese took slow, casual steps towards us. Well, that depends. Are you deaf or are you stupid? Andri looked taken back. What? Reese nodded to himself as if he'd just noted something. Stupid. He affirmed to himself, definitely stupid. Oi, I would watch my mouth if I were you. Andri threatened. Of course, Reese wasn't affected at all. In fact, he looked rather bored. Oh, a threat? Oh my gosh, I'm shaking with fear. He faked a shiver and I suppressed a giggle. Andri ignored him and turned to face me. I took in a sharp breath. He's your boyfriend? He asked with a mixture of rage and disgust. I barely managed to give a weak nod. Reese pretended to look concerned. The guy would seriously make an amazing actor. No, don't look so disappointed. I mean, I'm sure you're a nice kid once we get over much you belong in a mental institution, but really, I'm not interested in you like that. Andri's head snapped up so fast I heard a crack. What? I'm sorry, I just don't go that way, if you get my drift. Reese tried to imply with a straight face. I struggled to keep myself from laughing. It's hard to believe that it was only moments ago I was in a terrifying, life-threatening situation, and now that Reese is here, I couldn't seem to stop smiling. Andri's cheeks were red with fury. Are you trying to imply that I'm gay? Aren't you? What the fuck? No. Good, because it would have been really awkward for me to do this. Before Andri could react, Reese had done a roundhouse kick to Andri's stomach, before kneeing him in the crotch. Yes, doing that would have been extremely awkward if Andri was gay. Andri was back up in moments and in fight mode with his blade pointing at Reese. My hands were shaking. Although Reese was a badass fighter, Andri had an advantage, a weapon. You're so going to pay for that, motherfucker. Reese winked at him. Less talk, more play. Andri charged at Reese and threw a punch, aiming towards his face. Reese ducked down at rapid speed and jumped back just in time to avoid Andri slashing towards him with his knife. TSK, TSK, TSK. That's not very nice. Reese commented as if he were talking to a child. Of course, Reese's statement only aggravated Andri more. He lunged at Reese and managed to slam him onto the cold, hard ground of the balcony. Reese quickly threw a punch at Andri's face, which momentarily caught him off guard. He took this opportunity to kick his chest and toss him off himself. Both guys got up in seconds, and continued the fight. I closed my eyes shut and crouched down against the balcony walls, covering my face with my hands. I couldn't bear to watch the scene before me anymore. I hated knowing this was one fight I couldn't get in between and stop. I just wanted it to be over. God, please, please end this. God, please protect Reese Carter. At that moment, I heard someone fall over and grunt in pain. I heard someone's fist collide with the other person's face repeatedly. I heard one of them wince in pain. Suddenly, the only thing I could hear was one person's heavy breathing, and I prayed to the heavens and earth that Andri hadn't won. The person's warm hands held mine gently as they tried to uncover my face. On the verge of tears, I met dark green eyes. Reese, My voice was barely audible. Almost instinctively, I buried my face in his chest. "Hey, it's okay," Reese whispered as he wrapped his arms around me protectively. "It's all over, Chloe." Sometimes, you begin to truly think about something after it's over. I brought my head back up to his face to look at him. I watched as a bead of sweat trickled down his temple, and locked jaws. I watched as his pink lips parted as he breathed steadily, though his mouth. I gazed at his eyebrows that were creasing in confusion, and finally, I was mesmerized by his captivating eyes that held onto so much intensity, it consumed me. He brought his hands up to my face and wiped a tear that had escaped. "Come on, let's get out of here." As we stood up, Reese flinched as he touched his stomach. We looked down to see that his black shirt had blood dripping from it. He slowly lifted his shirt and a gasp escaped my lips. Reese was wounded. "Ah, shit." He winced as he tried to stand up straight. "Reese, we need to get you to a hospital," I cried as I tried to help him gain his balance. "No. No hospitals." "Why not?" "Because they'll ask what happened and I can't risk getting the police involved." He shook his head as if remembering a bad memory. "No, no more police." For the first time since the fight had ended, I noticed Andri's unconscious body lying on the ground. A shiver ran down my spine. I knew he wasn't dead, but nevertheless, I didn't want Reese to get into any trouble because of me. "Then let's go back to my place." His head whipped up at superhuman speed. "Are you trying to get into my pants?" I froze in shock. What? Reese looked stunned. "Oh God, you're a sexual predator." Whoa, what the hell are you tall? "I'm not that kind of guy, Chloe. I'm not going to go back to your house to check out your stereo or your stamp collection." "Reese. What the heck? Are you cross?" "I need TCC first." "What's TCC?" "Trust, comfort, and connection," Reese replied seriously. I slapped him across the face. "My parents are both doctors, idiot." Driving as fast as I could, with a crimson blush that never left my cheeks, I got Reese to the front porch of my house. The keys quivered in my trembling hands as I unlocked the door. All the lights were off and I groaned. My parents were out. A note was left on the coffee table for me. "Chloe, your father and I have double shifts tonight. We'll be back in the morning. Hope you had fun at the party. Lol. Mum." "Great," I muttered. Reese read the note over my shoulder. "Why did your mum write lol?" "She thinks it means lots of love." Reese laughed out loud. "How ironic." I walked towards the staircase. "Come on, let's go upstairs." A sly smile appeared on his face. "Admit it, you're trying to seduce me." My face turned scarlet. What? "No." "Shut up." "Let's go upstairs," he questioned with an eyebrow raised. "That's where we keep the first aid kit, idiot." "Careful. I'm fragile, remember." I rolled my eyes as I continued to disinfect Reese's cut. Reese was currently lying down on my bed with his shirt off while I searched for the smallest needle to stitch him up. Reese had refused all of my protests of going to the hospital, even though the cut Andri had made was deep. Fortunately, It wasn't deep enough to cause any serious damage or extreme loss of blood, but it still caused him pain even though he was trying his best to act like it was nothing. "Are you sure about this?" I asked for the billionth time. Reese let out a sigh of frustration. "For Christ's sake, Chloe." "Yes. Now hurry up before I die." I said one last prayer, before I began to sob. What seemed like 10 agonizing hours when it was only 10 minutes was what it took for me to fully stitch Reese's wound and to bandage it. When I was done, I threw all the excess items in the bin and washed my hands. Glancing at the mirror, I noticed that I was still in my black dress, which didn't look very neat now, and my hair was beyond untidy. I quickly changed into my comfortable clothes and ran my brush through my hair. Once satisfied, I walked back into my bedroom and sat on the side of my bed. Reese moved over a bit and let me have some more space. A thought suddenly occurred to me. What were you doing at Tyler's party? Reese looked up at me in misperception. That was Tyler's party. You didn't know that? Nope. Well, you obviously weren't invited, so what were you doing there? Reese smirked. You see, Chloe, I don't attend parties, I crash them. How badass. Exactly. A moment of silence passed before Reese spoke of what was on his mind. What were you doing at Tyler's party? Welcoming death, I muttered. Reese's lips broke into a smile, and then Reese Carter shows up like a knight in shining armor and saves the day. What a legend. I chuckled silently to myself. Reese Carter, my hero. Thank you, I whispered quietly. He sent me an adorable crooked smile. Don't sweat about it. I played with my fingers as I thought about all of today's events. It had all been fully hectic, with that almost kiss with Charlie, the party man-whore Tyler, and finally psychotic Andre. I asked for a night to remember well. I was definitely given a night to never forget. Suddenly, Reese's jaws locked as he let out a grunt of pain through his clenched teeth. I quickly grabbed the ice pack I had brought out of the freezer and laid it on his stomach, trying my best not to be distracted by his six-pack. His impressive, stone-hard, well-defined six-pack. You're looking at me like a fat kid looks at cake. Shut up. No, I'm not. He chuckled and we lapsed into a comfortable silence, before Reese spoke again. Hey, Reese's hand brushed over mine, instantly firing sparks up my arm. His dark, messy hair fell just above his piercing green eyes, instantly enchanting me. So, you know that really hot guy? That sexy beast that looks like me, dresses like me, and even sounds like me. He looked away and towards my window, not waiting for my reply. His playful side was gone. Yeah, well, I've been talking to him and he wants you to know that he's sorry for being such a jerk to you, that you didn't deserve it, and that although his IQ is 157, he was pretty stupid for not being able to see that you were just trying to help. It took me a while to get my head together. I blamed it on how hard my head hit the brick wall tonight. Reese Carter just apologized to me. Wow. He also told me that he would really appreciate it if you could hurry up and forgive him before he dies from your retarded stitches. Honestly, a 6-year-old could stitch straighter than you, Chloe. You suck. I closed my eyes and pretended to be in deep thought as I waved my hand in front of him. Abracadabra. I hesitantly peered through my lashes, and saw him looking at me like I was a freak. "Nope," I muttered to myself loud enough so he could hear, "you're still a jerk." He smirked, "Oh please, we both know you secretly love it." I rolled my eyes, "Yeah, okay, whatever helps you sleep at night." "A good night kiss," Reese suggested. "Are you asking me to kiss you, Reese?" "No, I just said a good night kiss helps me sleep at night." "I never said I wanted you to kiss me, of course, if you want to kiss me." "I wouldn't stop you," he trailed on, looking very amused. "All you have to do is ask," I replied coolly. Reese closed his eyes and I watched as his eyebrows creased. A moment later he opened them, revealing his famous cocky, narcissistic smile. "Oops, I did it again." I raised a brow. "Did what?" He ran his fingers through his hair. "I played with your heart, got lost in the game." "Wait, hold on a minute. I made you believe we're more than just friends." I covered his mouth with my hand to shut him up. "Are you quoting a Britney Spears song?" He nodded before taking my hand off his face and flashed his $1,000,000 smirk. "TCC, Chloe." TCC. Chapter 20. The next morning, I woke up with someone's arm around me. I slowly opened my eyes and found my breath caught in my throat when my gaze fell onto Reese's sleeping face. It never failed to amaze me how peaceful and innocent he looked as he slept, with the way his shaggy brown hair cascaded over his closed eyes and his steady breathing. It's funny how he reminds me of both an angel and the devil sometimes. My eyes trailed down to see him still half naked in my bed. I couldn't even remember when I had fallen asleep beside him last night. I looked at the clock hanging off my wall. It read 5:30 in the morning. My parents would be back soon. Oh crap. Panicking, I did the only thing reasonable at the time. I pushed Reese off the bed. He landed on the ground with a thump, and I immediately felt sorry for him. I watched him rub his eyes as he just registered what had happened. "Did you just push me off the bed?" A blush of embarrassment and guilt formed on my cheeks. Nevertheless, I began yelling at him. "Yes, now get out." Reese looked dazed, confused, and completely adorable. "Whoa, EA Aussie killer, did you forget to take your meds? Or are you experimenting with your dosage?" "Reese, get out. My parents will be back any minute." I cried in frustration as I threw a pillow at him. He sighed and shook his head in disappointment while getting up. "Geez, who lit the fuse to your tampon?" I threw another pillow at him. "Hey." Reese walked towards my window and lifted it up. "Okay, chill. I don't know what you're on, but I'm sure they offer rehabilitation programs for it." With that he jumped out of my window and swung on the tree branch. I leaned against the windowsill and watched him get inside his room right when my parents' car swerved into our driveway. I let out a sigh of relief. That had been really close. "What do you mean you're going to Cambodia?" I exclaimed while watching my parents pack their bags. My mum frantically folded her clothes and asked my dad to help her zip up the luggage. We've both been asked to go there and help treat children and families that have extreme medical conditions. Our flight is in an hour, we'll be back in 2 weeks. I'm so sorry this is all so sudden, baby. But what about me? Am I staying here alone for 2 weeks? Who's going to cook dinner for me? I could just barely manage to make toast without it burning. Don't be silly, did you really think we would leave you without an adult looking after you? I mean, you'd starve to death. No offense honey, but you can't even make 2-minute noodles if your life depended on it. I ignored her comment. So what's going to happen? I asked them as I followed them down the stairs where they checked if they hadn't forgotten anything. You're staying with Aurora. My mouth formed into an O. W what? We've gotten really close over the past few weeks, she's so lovely. I asked her if she could take care of you since we're right next door and she was thrilled. The Carters? I asked, more to myself. Yup. It's better this way, she lives right next door so it's just easier. Be on your best behavior Chloe, okay? She kissed my cheeks and gave me a tight squeeze. I hugged my dad who had remained silent this whole time. He's not much of a talker, my dad. Mum gave me more details and instructions on what to do and where to go. I just stood there, nodding my head, saying, yeah, okay, yup, right, okay, yes, okay, alright, I will, okay, I know, bye Mum. I'll call you when we get there, she cried as I watched them get into the taxi and leave for the airport. Living with Reese for 2 weeks? Cupid, what are you up to? Aurora opened the door with a bright smile and hugged me enthusiastically. Oh Chloe. I'm so glad you're staying with us, it'll be great to finally have a girl around the house. I laughed, thanks so much for taking me in such short notice. She waved me off. Trust me, it's nothing. Anyway, baby, I need to go out and get some things from the store. I'll be back in. She glanced at her watch, about half an hour. She ended it sounding more like a question. I nodded in understanding, seeming like it was the appropriate gesture to make. She smiled at me and rubbed my arm lovingly. Reese is upstairs. He doesn't know you're here yet, so if you want, you can go tell him the news. She grabbed her handbag and I smiled as I watched her scurry out the door. Aurora was really adorable. I walked up the stairs and instantly spotted his room. Well, the skull banners and danger, keep out signs kind of gave it away. I knocked a few times. When no one answered, I allowed myself to go in. I know, naughty Chloe. His room was empty. The sound of running water filled my ears. Reese was in the shower. I plumped down on his single-sized bed, which felt relatively smaller compared to my queen-sized one, yet, something about his bed was soft and welcoming. His bookshelf was full of ribbons and trophies for fighting tournaments he had won, which judging by what I saw was a lot. For a moment, I wondered if Andrew was okay, regardless of the fact he had tried to kill me last night. Deep inside, I still hoped he was all right. Sitting there, wallowing in my own sorrow, I noticed something that caught my eyes. Chocolate brownies. There was only a couple on his desk, wrapped in plastic. I sneakily opened the wrap and took a bite out of one. Oh my god. I think I just had a taste gasm. I moaned in pleasure as I greedily ate the second and the third. By the time Reese had walked out of the bathroom, with only a white towel around his waist, I had eaten all of his brownies. What the fuck are you doing? Reese yelled, his eyes burning with sudden anger. I burst out laughing. I started laughing so hard that no noise came out, that I was just sitting on Reese's bed clapping like a retarded seal. "Those weren't yours," he growled in frustration. I giggled. "Well, they didn't have your name on it." He waved a yellow sticky note in front of my face. On it, it had Reese Carter in big bold letters. He groaned in irritation. "Stay there. Don't move." I chuckled and pretended to be a statue, frozen with a stupid face. He shook his head and ran his fingers through his hair. "Just, don't do anything till I come back," he ordered. With that he grasped his phone and shut the door behind him. I began giggling again. Reese's POV. I frantically searched my contacts and clicked on Valentino's number. He picked up on the second ring. "Yo, bruh ha, whatsup man? Val, I need your help." "Sup man, what's wrong?" he asked, concern clearly audible in his tone. Are the guys with you?" "Yeah, we're all here." "What's happened?" Dennis asked. Valentino had no doubt put me on speaker as the guys kept asking me what was on. I let out a breath I had unconsciously held onto his entire time. Chloe ate all of the hash brownies. Chapter 21. Reese's POV. Where the heck is Narnia? The boys laughed, clearly amused by Chloe's temporary state as I let out something in the lines of a chuckle and a sigh. "Chloe, please get out of my closet." Moments later, her head popped out of the closet doors and she skipped across the room before crashing onto my bed. Whilst lying on her back, she lifted her arms and legs in the air, fascinated by the fact she had fingers as she moved them around with awe. "Whoa, she breathed, "this is so cool." Valentino's lips formed into a wide grin. "This is so entertaining. Tell me about it." Jake agreed before turning to me. "Yo, bro, are there any more brownies left?" I shook my head in disappointment. "Nah mate, she didn't even leave crumbs." Suddenly, a loud thump caused us to bring our attention back to Chloe, who was now situated on the floor, laughing. Confused, yet entertained, I raised an eyebrow. "Did you just fall off my bed?" Chloe looked at me like I was missing the big picture. "No, I attacked the floor. Backwards. I'm frickin' talented." As always, Valentino's laugh stood out as the loudest. "She's fucking hilarious." Dennis, being the goody two-shoes he is, offered Chloe a hand and helped her up. When Chloe managed to steady herself, she thanked him for being such a gentleman before planting a kiss on his cheek. We watched as Dennis' entire face turned scarlet only seconds later. "Ew." Chloe admired, "You're so cute when you blush, Dennis." Dennis, who'd just managed to turn even redder at her comment, scratched the back of his neck and looked down at the floor as we laughed at him. "Gee. Thanks, Chloe." Obviously oblivious to the fact that Dennis was being sarcastic, Chloe broke into a wide smile as she jumped up and down in excitement. "You're welcome. Bye." Then she proceeded to skip towards the door. That's when I reached out and grabbed her by the wrist, before twirling her towards myself. Feeling dizzy, she brought her other hand, which was free, and held onto me. "And where do you think you're going?" I smirked, ignoring the strong sense of déjà vu. knowing the way I was holding her now was somewhat familiar to the first time we'd met, when we'd broke into the school, only to find that she was locked in. When her light brown eyes landed on mine, she held onto a mixture of confusion and enthrallment. "You have really pretty eyes," she whispered, enchanted and mesmerized. "You do too," I thought. Instead, I winked at her. "I know." For a moment, we just stood there, smiling like idiots before she pushed herself away from my chest and ran out downstairs. "Hey!" I called out after her. "Where you going?" From the bottom of the stairs, she looked up and gave me an innocent look. "I'm hungry." Letting a chuckle escape my lips, the boys and I followed her downstairs, where she sat on the kitchen counter expectantly. "Reese, make me something to eat." Jake scoffed. "Reese? Cooking? Oh, this I have to see. I reckon we should be taping this," Valentino commented. "Does he even know how to cook? He'd probably food poison her." I turned around and narrowed my eyes at Jaden, before giving him the finger. "Thanks guys. No really, your support is encouraging. Cunts. Can you make me a Krabby Patty, please?" The boys and I slowly turned around only to see Chloe talking to a yellow sponge on the kitchen sink. A moment of stunned silence passed before we all let out a series of undying laughter. "Oh, this is fucking gold," Valentino managed to make out between laughs. "It's official, I love Chloe on drugs." Glancing back at Chloe, who was currently swinging her long, tanned legs and humming a song, I smiled at how cute she really was. Until I was smacked across the head by a bitch. "Check out this love-struck motherfucker." My best friend snickered. The rest of the boys laughed, yet they all seemed to share a knowing smile. "Excuse me?" I challenged. Valentino winked and casually hanged his arm around my neck, ushering me into the room next door. "Oakman. Don't get your panties up in a bunch, lover boy. It's obvious you've got a thing for her." He winked. My eyes widened in surprise. "What the fuck?" "I do not." Valentino raised his eyebrows and looked at me cynically. "Reese, don't fuck with Valentino, you like he/her. It's all in your head, brother." "Really now?" "Yeah," I replied casually, even though I could feel my pulse beating rapidly. "So you wouldn't mind if I went after her? I mean, those legs, man." And then something inside of me snapped so fast, the next second I had my best friend held forcefully against the wall. "Don't fucking think about touching her, Valley." My tone came out so deathly, I surprised myself. Realizing what I had just done, I withdrew away from him instantly and blinked. Our gazes locked, and it was only then that I figured out that Valentino was just testing me to see if I had any feelings for the girl in the room beside us. At this point, I had let out a very long series of the rudest swear words I knew in Spanish. Holy fucking shit. I think I'm falling for Chloe Armel. Valentino's lips cracked into one of his happiest smiles. My baby boy's growing up. He's finally fallen in love. I'm so fucking proud of you, brother. With that, he tackle-hugged me, lifting my feet up off the ground and compressing me in his famous bone-crushing bear hug. A million thoughts were running through my mind, too fast for me to catch up with them. This couldn't be possible. How did this happen? Okay Val, you can stop acting so homosexual and put me down now, mate. Just a few more seconds, he urged, still celebrating in his mind. I sighed. No. Now, before I make sure you'll never be able to have any Valentino Juniors. He let go of his grip almost immediately. Okay. We walked back inside the kitchen to find Chloe munching on a carrot while dipping it in what looked like strawberry jam. Dennis, Jake, and Jaden looked as if they've never had so much fun in their lives. When Jake's eyes landed on us, he gestured for us to come closer. Oh man, you should have been here, get a load of this, he said while handing me a piece of paper. What is it? Valentino asked while stealing one of Chloe's carrot sticks. Chloe frowned but nevertheless, didn't argue. Chloe's bucket list. Dennis and the twins all replied in sync. I quickly scanned through the list and found myself smiling. Chloe's bucket list. Skip school for an entire day. Drink alcohol for the first time. Punch someone. Do something illegal. Fail a test, just to see the teacher's reaction, then resit the test and get full marks. Get Reese to lose the bet. Learn how to skateboard. Kiss in the rain. Wait, that's too cliché. Kiss under the mistletoe nah, to Justin Bieber. Kiss in front of a very large crowd. I looked up from the piece of paper, finding it hard to believe she wrote all this in her own handwriting. Valentino, who had read it over my shoulder, shared the same smirk as everyone else, including myself. Oh, this is going to be so fun. I'm not afraid of many things. Yet, I am, and will always be, afraid of my Spanish mother when she's angry. She ate hash brownies? I leave for half an hour and she's on drugs? What kind of responsible nino are you? She argued with her arms crossed. I dared to steal a glance at the boys, who were trying their best not to laugh, looking constipated as they held in their breaths. Mama. I tried to defend, but would she let me? No. Do you think this is funny? She flared while pointing her finger towards Chloe. She was currently holding a potato, and congratulating it for getting a part in Toy Story. As much as I really wanted to burst out laughing on the floor right now, I mustered all I had to look at my mother with a straight face. No mama, of course not. She sighed, just get her upstairs to bed. Let her sleep it off. I nodded and watched her invite my friends for dinner, which they politely declined, before returning back to the kitchen. The boys each slapped me on the back, nodded a goodbye and wished me luck as they walked out the door. I headed towards where Chloe was lying on the couch, moments away from unconsciousness. I swiftly picked her up bridal style and made my way upstairs to the guest room. You're so strong, Chloe remarked, her hazel eyes widening in astonishment. I chuckled, unsure of what to say. Thanks, but trust me, princess, you're not that heavy, I told her as I gently laid her on the mattress and pulled the purple blankets over her. She made herself comfortable and let out a cute little yawn. Princess, she quoted, confused. Are you Prince Charming? I'm Reese Carter, so yes. She smiled when she heard my name. Reese Carter. She breathed quietly on the edge of falling asleep. I think. Chloe closed her eyes, but I still wanted to know what she was about to say. Yeah, I urged. What about Reese Carter? And right before she fell into the deepest of slumbers, she barely whispered her remaining words. I think I'm falling for him. Chapter 22. Sunlight entered through the opened windows, ending the peaceful sleep I had had all night long. Slowly opening my eyes, I took in my surroundings and instantly remembered that I was staying at the Carter residence for 2 weeks until my parents returned. Whoa, is it Monday already? Wait, Monday means school, right? Yay life. Getting up at super speed, I made my way towards the bathroom, took the world's fastest shower, brushed my teeth and headed downstairs for breakfast. Confused at how no one was up yet, I opened the cupboard and grabbed the cereal box and milk from the fridge. Munching away on a spoonful of Cheerios, I glanced at the clock hanging on the wall and cringed. 11:45 a.m. Life is peaking. Why are you up so early? Spinning around in the chair, I looked at Reese, who as always, resembled a model as he leant against the wall. Choking on my Cheerios and violently coughing, I looked at him like he was crazy. Early? It's 11:45. We've just missed 2 classes this morning. Your point being? I blinked at how come he was being about this. He was the smartest student at Prescott Private. He currently ranks first in the entire school, that's saying a lot. How is he always so carefree? He smirked. You need to chill, Chloe. Live a little. Live a little. Reese walked over towards me. On the coffee table, he picked up a white note I hadn't noticed was there and dropped it onto the kitchen counter in front of me. Pulling my eyebrows together, I gave him a puzzled look, which he only returned with his $1 million smirk. Gently, I picked it up, immediately recognizing my handwriting. What the hell? I don't remember writing this. Reese looked surprised. You don't? Confused, I looked at him for answers. No. His expression held onto a mixture of disappointment and relief, all at the same time. Do you remember anything at all from yesterday? Yeah, coming here and eating all your brownies. I smiled cheekily. Everything after that's pretty much a blur. Why? I asked, suspicion rising by the second. Much to my distaste, he stepped back, looking irritated. Never mind. Realization hit me like I'd been splashed with icy water. Reese, those weren't ordinary brownies, were they? He massaged the back of his neck awkwardly. Well, you see. My eyes widened. Oh my lord. Please tell me I didn't have hash brownies again. This time, Reese's eyes opened to its extent. Again? What do you mean, again? You've had them before. I let out a nervous laugh. Charlie once invited a couple of friends. Long story. I shook my head, trying to get rid of the memories I'll live with for the rest of my life. Well, not so much memories, just videos that Charlie decided would be funny to record. Please tell me I wasn't too embarrassing. I asked him, fear rising inside me by the second. Reese chuckled. You talk to inanimate objects a lot. My eyebrows creased in disapproval. So I've been told. You were awfully honest too. He smirked, eating a spoonful of my Cheerios. I scowled. Oh God. What did I say? He looked at me teasingly, his ego rising by the second. You said that I had pretty eyes. Fighting back a blush, I let my eyes trail away from his. Last time I had hash brownies, I hugged a hobo with a white beard and screamed, Dumbledore, you're back. So giving you a tiny compliment, isn't not too bad I suppose. You also confessed your undying love for me. Rhys told me, looking smug. My face flamed instantly. I did not. I stuttered, pushing his chest. Rhys left his contagious laugh. Whatever, you'll end up confessing it again sooner or later anyway. I let out a series of laughter. Rhys's cockiness never failed to amuse me. You're delusional, my friend. I told him, shaking my head as I reread my bucket list. I actually wrote all this. I asked, surprised at the things I've written. Do something illegal? Drink alcohol? Really? Who else has such girly handwriting? I narrowed my eyes yet grinned at the boy sitting in front of me. Hey. Lots of people adore my handwriting, alright? Don't hate. Mine's sexier. He commented as a matter of factly. I laughed at his ego. The scribbles you consider words? Of course, Rhys. Rhys ate more of my cereal, ignoring the unappreciated look I was giving him. Don't be jealous, babe. He smirked, enjoying the reactions he got out of me. So I think we can cross off skip school or an entire day, don't you think? Yeah. He added afterwards. Are you insane? I'm not going to skip school, that's so out of my character. That's not the type of person I am. Slowly and leisurely, both his arms landed on each side of me on the counter. He leaned in so close I could count each russet fleck in his dark green eyes. What if this? He snatched the piece of paper from my fingers and held it in my sight. Is the person you always were, yet you play the part of little nerdy Chloe, who never gets to live her life the way she wants to. Feeling the need to defend myself, I shoved his stone-hard, warm chest, ignoring the pleasant feeling it gave me. That's not true. I replied pathetically. Rhys seized me by the waist and waved the bucket list in front of me once more. Then look me in the eyes, and tell me that the things you wrote on this list is all nothing but a complete and utter lie. He challenged. Whoa, he looked so much hotter when he was being serious. Well. I tore my gaze away from his and reread the note over and over again. Even though I don't remember writing the things on that list, deep down I knew that they're all things I could ever want in my wildest dreams. Rhys noticed, and therefore a sexy smirk played on his lips. What have I gotten myself into? After a moment of silence, I let out the breath I was holding onto and gave in. Lagging it is. I grinned. I feel so badass right now. I giggled, taking a bite out of my Big Mac. It had been about an hour or so after my little adventure had begun since we arrived at the mall, and I was currently enjoying every second of it. Because I knew that I was breaking the rules. And that was the best darn feeling ever. Rhys laughed at me, shaking his head and letting his soft brown hair fall over his eyes. You're such a loser, Chloe. I playfully slapped his arm and frowned, yet smiled at the same time. I'm the most amazing loser you've ever met. He raised his eyebrows and his enchanting green eyes sparkled with amusement. Oh really now? Of course, I stated confidently. You should feel privileged to know me. Reese let out a wholehearted chuckle. His smile almost had my breath caught in my throat. I've never seen anyone's smile look so cute, yet sexy. I think my cockiness is rubbing off on you. I second that. I agreed, finished with my burger and now digging into the caramel McFlurry. I've never seen a girl eat so openly in front of a guy. He told me, gesturing towards my ice cream. A girl's gotta eat. I shrugged. Reese laughed at me and leaned back with his arm crossed behind his head. His eyes played around the mall before he cussed and ran his fingers through his hair. Fuck. Not her. Who? I asked, puzzled yet amused. Just this chicka that never gets the hint. Reese replied, clearly annoyed. The hint. I laughed, PFFT, who would have a crush on you? Reese raised an eyebrow, who wouldn't? I'm amazing. I faked a series of coughs, of course, Reese. Oh please, don't act like you're not affected by the Reesleus. Reesleus. Greek god. Means, the perfect one. He told me seriously. It sounds more like a raging virus. I commented, finishing the last spoonful of my ice cream. He narrowed his eyes at me, before cracking a smile and messing up my hair. You are such a killjoy, loser. Don't touch my hair. I squirmed, swatting him away. And I'm just stating facts. I added with a cheeky smile. So am I. And my hypothesis is that everyone's into me. I twirled my hair between my fingers, faking boredom. Except for good girls like me. He twisted his body to face mine and his green eyes searched into mine. Especially good girls like you. Reese smirked, trust me Chloe, the good girl always falls for the bad boy. My heart started racing. I took in a sharp breath, trying to act cool. PFFT, you're a bad influence. I prefer the term, badass. He corrected. I waved him off. Oakman. Drop the bad boy act, you're a freak at specialist maths. Are you jealous, nerd? He winked. I get the exact same results as you do, there's nothing to be jealous about. Alright. He shrugged, his expression showing that he clearly disbelieved me. I slapped his leg in frustration. Hard. The fuck? Reese yelled, gesturing his hands at the area I hit him. What was that for? Your face, it annoyed me. I tried to explain, smiling at how adorable he looked when he was pissed off, yet trying hard to fight back a grin. Feeling a blush spread over my cheeks, I looked away and towards the girl Reese was mentioning moments ago. When she turned around, my smile completely disappeared. I could practically feel my heart sink deep into the pit of my stomach. Oh no, my voice quivered, barely coming out as a soft whimper. Not her. You know her, too. I looked at him, chest tightening and my nerves taking over. Yeah. That's Chantal. I told him sadly. Chantal DeVille, Ashton's twin sister. Chapter 23. Chantal DeVille, a spitting image of Ashton DeVille. Blonde, beautiful, and black-hearted. Well, if it isn't Chloe Armel. Chantal smiled sweetly. It's been so long. Yeah. I mumbled awkwardly, knowing she'd make a provocative statement soon. Chantal placed a perfectly manicured hand on her waist, while twirling her hair into curls as she pretended to think. How long has it been since Monday, frère Abrise ton joli petit cœur? My brother broke your pretty little heart. 2 years. She smirked. Sounds about right. I forced out a smile, wanting nothing but to wipe her sadistic one off her face. And then I took a look at Reese Carter, who was leaning against the wall a couple of meters away, impatiently waiting for me to hurry up so we could leave. I gave him a wicked grin and turned back to Chantal. But that's all right. I waved off, finding the confidence in my voice again. I've moved on. Reese is amazing. I've never been happier. What? She shrieked, her sapphire eyes widening in shock. You two are going out? No way. I ignored the bitch and continued. Oh Chantal, I began, looking into the distance and all dreamy like, you have no idea how cute and sweet he really is. It's like, he has this whole bad boy thing going on, this I don't care about anyone or anything attitude, which is so sexy, but then when you really get to know him, he's the sweetest guy you'll ever meet. He's just amazing, we are so in love. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you make enemies. Chantal left soon after, but not before promising me that Reese would be no different to Ashton, that he too, will rip my heart into shreds. The walk home was silent. Reese tried to make small talk but gave up when he saw my mind was somewhere else. Instead he began kicking a stone that came across his path until we got back. I couldn't stop thinking about Chantal. Her words replayed in my head over and over again, until I had to shake my head and tell myself that Reese is not Ashton. He's nothing like him. What a lovely shade of slut she was wearing today, Reese remarked suddenly. I stopped walking at my normal pace and slowed down a bit. Who, Chantal? I asked, surprised at his comment. Reese nodded and continued kicking the rock. Don't you think she's hot, like all other guys do? As much as I dreaded the thought of Reese taking an interest in her, I couldn't deny the fact that Chantal was breathtakingly beautiful, and I was, well, me. Reese leaped onto one of the house's brick fences, and walked along it, then jumped from one gigantic rock to another. I think she should open books, not legs, he told me while balancing on one leg, blow minds, not guys. You know. Reese, what are you doing? You bored me to death, so I'm playing that game where you pretend the ground is lava and you can't step on it. You're so immature. I laughed. He cracked a smile, instantly captivating me. Immaturity keeps me young, Chloe. Besides, I'm having more fun than you, aren't I? I frowned. No. Reese grinned. Yes. No. Come on babe, it's okay, you can play too. Shut up. Princess swore again. The idiot was totally testing my patience. So how do you lose the game? I asked, pretending to be genuinely curious as I stepped on the fence as well. You have to touch the ground, duh. Reese told me, his eyes sparkling in the sun. Oh. So like this? I questioned, using both my hands to push his stone-hard chest. He began to lose his balance, but quickly gained his stability, much to my distaste. That wasn't very nice, Chloe. He smirked, edging closer to me and grabbing both of my wrists with a wicked grin. No. Stop. Ha. I screamed when he had me on the edge, my body making a 70 degrees angle in the air. Reese. I squealed again, but managing to laugh at the same time. Let go, you jerk. He raised his eyebrows in amusement. Are you sure you want me to let you go? Yes. Then realization hit me. No. Don't you dare let go. Now, Chloe. Did you forget the magic word? Reese leered, teasing me by holding me further down until I made a 30-degree slant with the grassy ground. Reese. Haha, oh my god. Get me up. Please. I cried with a smile plastered on my face. He was so going to pay for this. Reese laughed and brought me back up, sliding his hand around my waist to support me. Instinctively, I clung both arms around his neck, hanging onto him like my life depended on it. I felt Reese's chest vibrate as he let out a series of laughter, which I only returned with a death stare. You know, the magic word wasn't actually please. It was, Reese is sexy. I shoved his chest again, and this time, he lost his balance and fell onto the soft, green grass. Oh look. You touched the ground. I guess that means I won the game. I winked. Reese just flashed me his adorable, boyish smile, one I think I was starting to fall for. When we got back to his place, we saw Aurora cutting up some vegetables and boiling some water. She smiled warmly at the both of us when we came in. Reese came up behind her and gave his mother a kiss on the cheek, which made her smile glow even brighter. I was wonderstruck by how cute the scene was. Your mother called today, Chloe. Aurora told me, pointing towards the phone sitting on the bench. It was nighttime there and you weren't here, so she said she'd try calling tomorrow. She misses you already. Oh. All right, thanks. I beamed at her. Did you need any help with that? I asked her, gesturing towards the food. She waved me off. No, go watch some TV or something. I'll call you both down when dinner's ready. I think I was beginning to love Aurora already. I made my way upstairs, Reese trailing behind me. When we got up to the second floor, we exchanged glances before silently heading off to our rooms. I collapsed onto the bed and let out a deep sigh. Wow. Who would have ever thought that I'd actually ever skip a day of school? I mean, I remember this one time, I had caught the flu, gotten a temperature of 41 degrees Celsius but had still managed to beg my parents to let me go to class because I had a chemistry test. I let out a chuckle. Now that I think about it, that was pretty pathetic. Feeling bored already, I reached out on the bedside table and grabbed my phone. Unlocking it, I mentally cringed when it read 37 missed calls. Most of them were by Charlie. Pressing the call button, I waited for him to pick up. Charlie managed to do so after the first ring. "Where the hell have you been?" my best friend all but screamed through the phone. "Hi Charles. Are you okay? Are you sick? What happened? Why weren't you at school? Why weren't you at home when I came to your house after school? Do you realize how worried?" Whoa, I cut in, instantly feeling guilt-ridden about the fact that I'd left my phone on silent. "Charlie, I'm fine, I'm so sorry for making you worried. I just woke up really late this morning, and I didn't have my alarm clock because you know how I'm staying at Reese's house for 2 weeks and..." "You're what?" I didn't tell you." "No. I haven't heard from you since Friday. Why are you staying there?" "Charles." "Yes. Why are you yelling?" I laughed. He paused. "Oh, sorry Chloe." He chuckled awkwardly. "But, I don't get it, why aren't you staying at my place?" "Mum thought it would be easier 'cause Reese is just next door." He grunted in response. "This still doesn't explain why you weren't at school. I mean, remember that one time you caught the flu and your temperature was like..." "Yes Charlie. 41 degrees C or something, right? But you were like, I can't miss school. I have a chem." I face-palmed myself. "Yes, Charlie, I remember. Please shut up now." He laughed and I could imagine him grinning over the phone. "I love you, Chloe." "I love you too, Charles. For the billionth time. Don't call me Charles." I finished off for him in a high-pitched, exaggerated voice. A moment of silence passed. "Chloe, I don't sound like that." I grinned. "I know, Charles, I know."